All right, let's get a little sound check here. Looks like you guys should be able to hear me. That's good. I am just kind of hanging out, and it's the day before, it's the last day of the year, right? It's the day before the new year, so we're kind of hanging out. I'm still reviewing. I held exactly where we were yesterday and got into logical volume management, so I was just going to kind of continue with that. If we want to play some games, we'll do that. If we want to mess around and talk, if anybody's got any questions about kind of what we're doing in the group, we'll do that. Hey, how's it going, Cold Kiss? It's always funny how the name comes up. Yep, it says Cold Kiss. X Shunya, how's it going? Over on the other side, we got YouTube and Twitch hanging out. Let me check a thing here. What was I going to check? I had something I wanted to check. And now I forgot. Oh, yeah, let's pull this up. In case you guys need to, there's always our little Discord. Let's see what events we have coming up here in the future. Come up here to the top. And if you're on the mobile app, it's on the top right. We got a New Year event coming up on Saturday. And then also on Saturday, we'll do our... We'll meet for this, and it'll just be kind of quick. If people want to talk, ask questions about stuff, if people want to kind of look at stuff, we'll just do it kind of like our normal meeting on Saturday. And then, yeah, and then M-Pesa's coming next year. Make sure you guys don't miss that. His talks are always, very well received. People enjoy hanging out with Pesa. So he's got a lot of good experience. Even though, I mean, he's only been really working in the industry the last probably 6 years. But I mean, he's gotten all the certs. He's done all the things. He's been a Linux engineer. He's been a software engineer and a site reliability engineer. He's currently a software engineer, so he can talk to you about all those things. So you guys come and ask him questions. He loves it. So, all right. What we're doing, this is actually kind of an interesting thing. We were reviewing all of our old Linux Systems Administration course all the way back from, this is still in September. And one of the things is actually probably some of you guys that are here or even watching this later, you look at this and you go, okay, logical volume management, and then here's the visual view of it. And maybe some of this, when you first saw it, it was a little difficult, right? But now that you've built a few, if you've been doing the course, I probably made you build the logical volume management stuff out at least 2 or 3 times now. And if you did the lab a few times, then you would have picked up even more. But, you've got the raw disks that are just attached to the file system. They're either added in, maybe you've got a hot swappable system, maybe you had to take a physical box down and add disks. Maybe it's virtual and you're just slapping disks on the side of it, like I can just come here and slap disks on the side of one of my nodes if I want to. In fact, that's what I did for this course, was I just added these disks so that you guys could use them. So yeah, so just raw disks added to the machine, and then you have to tell the logical volume management system that it's allowed to touch those disks. It doesn't know it's allowed to do anything with them. It has to be told that it's allowed to, and we load that. We give that permission with the tool. The command is pv create. So we pv create the physical volumes, and now they're just sitting in like an unordered pool. It's almost like a little waiting pool called physical volumes. They are physical volumes. They are allowed to be used. You can load things such as raw disks, or you can load just partitions into physical volumes. So nobody's going to tell you how to do this and the requirements of it. Well, I mean, some people might, but as an engineer, you may have to decide for your company, or, if nobody's giving you direction and maybe you ask and you say, well, how should we do this? If nobody gives you direction and you're building something, you need to make a decision. It needs to be an informed decision based on the knowledge you have. You should be able to write up a little bit about why you made that decision, and then you go with it. You go full head on into it, right? That's what we do as engineers. We build things. So, but know why you build it and be ready to give a defense for your answer, right? So we got our physical volumes. Then they're unordered over here. They're just kind of sitting around, and we aggregate them up into volume groups. We use VG create to turn them into a volume group, and the volume group spans multiple disks, right? Then from here, we can carve out logical volumes from the volume groups with a command called lv create, and then you get just some logical volume, which is just free space. We create file systems on it with makefs dot, and then the helper program, and we make maybe makefs.ext4 or xfs, whatever we're doing. And then once we've got a file system, we can mount that to the, I should have called this like a server, but mount to the system as mount space, and then you can look at it and you can review, you can do all the things you need to do as a sysadmin, right? So this is a very important kind of, even though this is just the high level, everything's working well type thing, you will find that this is kind of the archetype for how you do it, but maybe you build your logical volumes a different way because you want to RAID up the disks on the back end, and maybe you don't want to RAID the disks, and maybe you do want to, and then you can expand by adding more volumes later with VG extend and LV extend, and it's just, there's so many things you can do. And what I always tell you guys is if you're doing a lot of this disk stuff inside of Linux systems, and you're like, man, Scott, you know, I'm tired of this. Like, this is all Linux disk stuff, and it's not super interesting. And I would say, well, you know what? This is the same archetype right here for if you go work in big storage. So if you go do like big storage systems where we drop what are called JBODs, just a bunch of disks in, and then we take those just a bunch of disks and we maybe aggregate them up and turn them into LUNs, which are like logical unit numbers. So we RAID up the LUNs, and then we share those out on a, you know, fiber channel over Ethernet, or maybe like on some kind of InfiniBand type network. You are doing almost the same thing, whatever the tool is, whatever it looks like, whatever it's called. It's this same kind of concept. So I'm just telling you, you're not losing anything by understanding this. If that kind of makes sense. All right. So the lab tasks for this was week 3, where we built a logical volume management device from other block devices, right? So we took a bunch of block devices, aggregated them up. We created a file system on it. We mounted it to our server. We made that mount point permanent. We used a little bit older technique, but it still checks out, which is etcfs tab. etcfs tab is kind of the older way. The more modern way is to let systemd do it. But it's actually funny, even if you use systemd mounts, a lot of times it'll just make a mount point back in your etcfs tab anyways. We built up software RAID with MD80M, and then we built a file system on a RAID device. So you guys did all of this if you did the lab. I don't know if anybody wants to see the lab for that week. I can pull up the lab for that week if people are interested. This is Unit 3. So here was the lab for this week. I'll pull that up and kind of show you guys. And it kind of looked like this. These are all, by the way, if anybody's like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but I didn't get in on the ground floor of it, that's okay. You'd be a little behind. You might not get the cool little certificate that we're giving out, but you can at least go in here and go find all the stuff. It's all free. I'm not charging you guys anything for it. It's all here for you. I'm not going to take it down on the January 19th and then get rid of it or whatever. We're going to leave it up there. But I always start my labs out with some exercises, just make you do some stuff, maybe just to warm your fingers up, maybe to get you maybe doing something that you can go read about later, and you're like, what the heck is one of these, and what the heck are 2 of these? I don't know what these things are. Now you can go read a little bit about redirects, maybe ask some questions down in the Discord about it. And we just kind of looked at, some of these things, I'm yawning over here. And then I said that you could do some disk speed tests if you really wanted to. You can go in there. Hey, Sladoid, how's it going? We're doing all the Linux. That's the goal. Do all the Linux. But we're working on, we're looking at Unit 3. We're just kind of blowing through everything. If we want to play some, if we want to play some Brotato, we can play some Brotato. But for the most part, we're just kind of reviewing things, and I'm not working too hard. X-Shunya, yeah, I'd like in the second run, get some great nuggets. Yeah, I'm hoping to show you guys. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched over like some engineer's shoulder. We've been working on something, and I haven't picked something up. So I pick something up every time I talk to another engineer, which is, again, one of the reasons I started the group, was to get you guys looking at this stuff and kind of seeing how it all works, right? All right. Oh, actually, I got to do something else over here. Give me one more second over here, guys. On the YouTube side of things. Gotta go mess with stuff. I don't think that'll affect anybody watching the stream, but it'll affect stuff later. So I make that setting change. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at this for a second here. We had some speed tests. I wanted you guys to look at how... did I actually take the speed tests off? It's interesting. I don't... maybe I took... I made you do that. I made you make sure it was wiped. And then I made you do this, but I didn't change the name. Okay. Well, the speed tests... maybe I didn't... Oh, here's the speed test. The read and the write speed test. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So here's the speed test. All right, and then there's the cleanup. And then here's the start of the lab. So I had forgotten that I had done a little bit of this, but you could just make some disks, make some file system types, and then do some speed tests if you wanted to, right? Just for fun. Then you can go clean it all up. So that was like a pre-lab type thing. And then the lab started you off by looking at like a Rocky node. This is one of the Rocky boxes. I can SSH to it right here at any time, right? I just happen to be on 19. I can go to Rocky 11 if I want to. Let's just go to Rocky 1. Nobody's on it. Nobody's been doing anything with it. And I could just go start messing around with it. I could say fdisk-l, grep-i, xvd if I want to see just those disks. And I see all these disks here. And now I can start doing tasks against those disks. This is what we did in the lab, right? Walk down, we did some simple commands like pvs, vgs, lvs. These are some of my favorite commands because they just show you, is anybody using logical volume management on the system yet? And there are devices set up. I can do this. I'm going to show you guys this, but this isn't part of the lab. You can do, instead of PVS, which is just physical volume show, you can do PV display. And often I'll have people like pull up the screen and say, hey, you know, PV display. And I say, that's cool, but what if you got like 20 disks on there? It's kind of nice to do PVS because it's a shorter output of that. It depends what you want to know, though. Do you want to dig in, or are you just looking at, hey, what's there, right? These are the things that maybe determine what you want to know. Okay, so we see what's going on inside of the system, and then we could do VG show, by the way, and VG display, or VG show, which is VGS, and we can see kind of what's going on in the system, right? So all that to show you guys, some of you guys have already done all this, but we can see how the system's being used, what's there, and then in the lab, we started to create and carve these up. I showed you guys how you could loop over them if you wanted to, or you could individually do them. Fisherman, you're back. How you doing? Have you guys had occasion when you weren't feeling ill to ride your bikes, your electric bikes around? I know my brother Tommy was posting, him and his kids were riding his bikes around, so that's kind of cool. We over here are just, guys, all we're doing is we're powering through, and we're just working on the systems. Oh, Fisherman with the Prime, thank you for that. I think it'll talk.
I am not dead, so that is good.
Pneumonia, you said pneumonia, not just like being sick, but like fluid in your lungs pneumonia. That's pretty bad. I'll tell you, I rarely, I know you've got younger kids, I rarely, if ever, got sick from the time I was in the Army till maybe my early 30s when I had a toddler. I never got like sick. I never got injured still in my life, really. For all the sports I play and all the war I've been in, I've never been injured, thankfully. So, where are my teeth? How's it going, man? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just kind of doing like end of the year. I wanted to do this kind of like a little bit of a review. I really wish Discord had a cool, yeah, knock on wood, sure. I wish Discord had a cool function that would show like, we can see our members, but I don't think we can see like how our members grew, because like we're at, this is not updated. We're way over 3,200. We're almost at 3,400, right? Yeah, so many new members. We're at yeah, we're at like almost 3,400 right now. So that's actually way behind. But the reason I bring that up, yeah, I'm like the guy in Unbreakable, but except I can swim though. Yeah, where are my teeth? I'm still enjoying my break. I've just set up a bunch of travel to go to Ohio. I'm gonna be in Ohio for a week, doing some work for one of our customers, and That'll be starting next week, so not this week. But I'm still working on my dissertation. I'll be doing that until probably the end of 2026, maybe early 2027. I may be jumping to. It's kind of a long story, but I might be moving for kind of the path reasons of the dissertation I want to write. So I might be moving to a new college. We're going to see how the other college does with some stuff, but because sometimes things like that happened. Yeah, John Doe, I've never got injured. I've had some Kimura injuries, and I've had some little stuff, but most everything I've just shaken off. Yeah, John Doe, I've never been injured. 21 years of the sport. I've never been injured. Maybe I had my pride injured a little bit, but no. No, for the most part, we just hang out and train. In fact, I was gonna go train today, but I didn't get up in time. I'll go stop by my gym tomorrow. We're doing a 10 o'clock open mat. I'll post some pictures down down the Discord. Vacation and dissertation is fun. A better opportunity than have to take. Yeah. Wear my teeth. What's happening is there's some differences in opinions of me and my college on a few things, but on my current college now on a few things, but I might for convenience and for that conflict move over to another program that might more align with where my dissertation looks like it's headed. My dissertation it was originally, most of you guys that have been around knew that it was going to be around red team activities and the effectiveness of them. But as I kept researching and going deeper into a lot of this stuff, I found out that there's a lot to do with like effectiveness of changing people's behavior in cybersecurity that isn't really well known. There's a model called the KAB, and we talked about this a few weeks back, but the knowledge, attitude, behavior. How does knowledge of a thing affect your attitude towards a thing and then change your behavior around a thing? And it's like, if we can't train our users, like we can train our users to know all kinds of stuff, but if they're still going to click on the phishing email, what does it matter? What does it matter what you knew and what your attitude was towards it if it's not going to actually affect your behavior? If it doesn't push you to do something different, yeah, knowledge is the start of everything. But if it doesn't affect how you look at things, and then there's this other model. So, because here's the thing, when you guys write a dissertation, if you ever go that far, you don't get to do anything cool. You don't get to do anything new, guys. You have to build on what's there. You have to use instrumentation that was already built. You can't make your own new instrument. You could do all your own new instrumentation you want after you finish your doctorate and you're just out doing research. But when you're first doing it, like in your first, let's say, big research project, as it were, you're not allowed to do that kind of thing. So there's that. Z-Love, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are just kind of looking at, we were looking at Unit 3. So I think we're done with Unit 3 here. And we're going to jump into Unit 4 next. Yep, so there's questions. Ask me them up in Discord. Let's get out of that. Let's go to Unit 4. So we're kind of continuing our stuff from yesterday, but we're doing it as kind of an end of the year wrap up. I'm doing a little co-working, so I'm kind of working on the side while we're talking. And Atticus now, Happy New Year to everybody as well. Yep. Yeah, wear my teeth. Yeah, you have to find a hole in the research to write on. Yeah, so you have to go find typically like 10 empirical articles, which means that they've pulled research and actually not pulled research, they've pulled data. They've done some kind of their own aggregation of data or data, whatever you want to call it. And what they then have done is said as they finish, they say, and in future research, we should do this or this or this. And that's kind of where, that's where you get your ideas for. But then when you do that, when you do that, you have to be able to really step back and say, you have to be able to step back, and now if you're using quantitative methodology like I am, you have to then use whatever instruments they have. You can't use, in qualitative they can design their own instrumentation, but in quantitative you can't. Yeah, I've been training. Yep, John Doe. I started in 2003 when I was in Army. So I would be a first degree if I really cared. Like, I've been a black belt for 4 years. I'd be a first degree. I took a long time. I think I finally It took me about 10 years to get my blue belt because I wasn't really messing around too much, or I wasn't really messing with jiu-jitsu as much my first 10 years. But I've really been serious probably the last 11 or so. Pretty hard. Yeah. So yeah, John Doe. Yeah, 21 years though, and I don't like. People ask me all the time to coach. I even had somebody pull me aside the other day and goes, "Hey, you should coach. You should wear a red bar," because I just wear a white bar because kind of like a competitor and kind of like just a hobbyist bar on my black belt. And people always ask, they're like, "Why don't you wear a red bar like all the other guys do?" And I go, "Because those guys are coaches, and they want you to ask them questions like this. I am not a coach, so you don't get to ask me questions like this." And then I immediately armbar them for asking me a question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm much more of a Kimura guy anyways. So, Deaden, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're not working too hard. We're just kind of hanging out. Yeah, wear my teeth. You're welcome to lurk. You guys are all welcome to lurk. Look, we're finally up to October. Right, we're reviewing stuff, but let's go see how this goes. So, I told you guys it got weird, right? Because we had so many people, and it said we were up to 180, but man, we had 208 at one point before the thing got wiped, and we're just gonna review them all at the end, which we're near the end now. January 19th will be the last day to turn stuff in, if you're going to. And then we said last week, what was the term triage and what was something you've had to triage? So I made you guys do a little talking and research on that. And then go ask about high availability. So we did all that stuff. Hey, Robdom, how's it going? Thanks for the resubscription. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Man, Robdom, that's 3 years. I can't believe, I think I started streaming in 2001 on September 5th. That sounds right. Yep. If you guys never heard that story, I started streaming and I did like an hour and a half. And I'm just sitting here all by myself doing stuff. And I didn't realize, I went back and watched my video, the VOD, and it was on a Sunday. And I had the worst, like this right here. Hold on. Where's that? Nope, over here. I had the worst, it was cut off, like right here. So while I was talking to you guys, it would have looked like this. Hold on. It would have looked like this. So while I was talking to you guys and typing, it kind of looked like this on the screen. Do you guys see how it's like off the bottom of the screen? So if I was like explaining stuff to you and just like, and you'd be like, what the hell's he talking about? I'm just seeing the commands like three minutes later, whatever he was doing, right? So I saw like how terrible my recording looked, and I said, no, I got to do that over. So I redid it and I got it all right, and it looked a lot better. Oh, yeah, it was really bad. And as I was doing that, I got raided with like 170 people by Nahemsec. So I'm like sitting there, and I don't know anybody. I'm just starting out. So I'm like doing my stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep talking about Linux, and you guys that want to can hang out. And it dropped down pretty quick to maybe only like 15 people, but that kind of happens when it's your first stream. And, I would always tell Nahemsec thank you when I saw him after that. And he was pretty good guy about it. But, yeah, that pushed me up into affiliate like the very first time like it could come around. You had to do like 7 days, and I was already affiliate because I already had this average that was over, like you have to have an average over I think like 7 or something, or maybe it's 3, I forget. But the point is I was over that average because I had somebody in there, with so many people for even just an hour or whatever. So it was kind of a fun little thing. Anyway, so where are we at? We're back here. That was my first stream ever. It was bad. I don't even have a recording of that. I wouldn't even want a recording of that. I think I might have it somewhere. But this week, and this was in Unit 4. How's it going, Rob? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. What are we doing? We are reviewing our Linux Systems Administration course. We went over this course for the last 4 months, and we are now up to Unit 4. I'm just kind of casually walking through the slides, showing people where the course exists in our Discord. It is completely free for people that want to go do it and give themselves a try at, what's going on inside of, the mind of a Linux admin. Not even all the way. There's some, we go up into some engineering, but for the most part, it's Linux admin work, right? Like, what are you doing? How are you making things work? And in week 4, we got into the topic of what is an operations bridge. And I kind of clicked on this link. Yeah, skip verification. And it was this little talk about how operations bridges work. And then I asked some questions around, what do you think would be a challenge to implementing an operations bridge? What do you think the costs would be, right, within an organization? I'll link this to you guys that want it, because it was part of our discussion. And for people that did the course with us, you had to do one post each week, and you had to do one response to somebody else. So there was some back and forth, kind of some sharing knowledge with a group type idea, right? And then topic 2 was, your team has no documentation around how to check out a server during an incident. Write out a procedure of what you think an operations person should do on a system when they suspect it's not working. I have been known to profess at a university, that's for sure. So if we go back to Unit 4 here were all the worksheets and stuff. But here's the discussions, right? And on that discussion, there were some really good things that came out from this. For people that have not been around for this kind of stuff, we had this security incident sheet from, this actually pops up from sans.org. And this is just like, what does it look like to run a security incident for either a Windows team on the left here or a Unix Linux style system on the right? What are you doing? And I always emphasize this as we talk about this. Your job is not to just drop this on some junior engineer's lap or junior admin's lap and say, press the buttons and find all the things. No, you have to squeeze this down into a procedure and turn into, where are we at? You know, are we containing? Are we identifying? Why is the left side drawn in crayon? Yeah. Like, you have to plan this stuff out, right? So, you know, we come over here, and those were the 2 discussions, and people, I think, had some really lively discussions on it. There was some good, if we go in there, we were already losing people, but people started to go in and really start to drop in. And I told people, even if you come around later, you guys should go in here and look at what the other people did and say, that's interesting. This is one I always tell you guys, log the time and date that you became aware of an incident. When did you get called out? When you got called out is such a big thing of importance in troubleshooting and timelines and mean time to respond. There's Fisherman. If you guys don't follow Fisherman, we were actually looking at some of his stuff yesterday around, he's got some labs on building LLMs out that are useful. All right. Every week, when we were running the course, every week we had, we were staring down the barrel of this final project. We had worksheets every week. We had a lab every week. And then this week we had talked about operating running systems. How do we handle incidents? Do we have an incident bridge stood up? Do we track events and timelines? What information do I think we should track? Time that we were alerted, what we checked, what actions we took. Did we change anything? This is of critical importance. Did we change anything? Because I tell you guys all the time, if the admin team, if like the people that are on the operations team, if they fix something, but that never gets worked back into how the servers are built as part of like the CI/CD pipeline of servers, like if the way that we build our servers out doesn't get updated, well, they're just going to plop more shit servers into our environment, plop more crap servers. Sorry, my CC won't say poop. It'll say poop. It won't say SH-T. It won't say that. Anyways, and then were we instructed to change anything? Were we? Why does it say we were instructed to change? Yeah, but I probably meant to say were we instructed to change anything? Because sometimes you're on a call and you're like, hey, I'm going to make this very significant change to get this system back working the way that I think it should, but I need to have some approval. So some manager, or somebody that's with some type of actual executive authority on the call will say, yes, do it. And when you do that, you've given the best advice you can, but I tell engineers all the time, and admins to a lesser extent, you're as long as you've done the best to your knowledge, you're pretty much indemnified at that point, where it's not really your fault, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, more excrement in the environment. More ways to get around my CC. Did you guys, I don't know, some of you guys have been around when I'm trying to make the CC say things. The things that are blocked on this closed captioning to me are amazing. There are things that are just, I can't believe. Like, there are words that in the engineering world have been used for a long time to really mean things that should be allowed. And this thing thinks that I'm being mean to special ed people. And it's like, no, that's an engineering term. And if I'm talking to a bunch of engineers, I will use the word retarded. Because a thing can be retarded. That's stunted in its education or growth. And that's not hurting the system's feeling. That's what the system is. You can retard the flow of water. You can retard the growth of a tree. But this thing won't say it anymore because for reasons that don't, like, I will be technically correct as much as I can. I'm not saying, if it hurts your feelings when somebody uses the word correctly, I don't know what to say things, guys. Like, that's an engineering term, and it's been around a long time. So, all right. But anyways, they just stopped. Yeah, if you guys ever seen a guy like, they do it a lot with like those little bonsai trees where they'll grow the plant a different direction. That is retarding the growth of the plant. That is what that is. Oh, there it is. If I use it with an ing, it's fine. Anyways, all right, it's silliness, but this is operating a running system. Let's say you get called out in the middle of the night, and I often do this with you guys. You get called out in the middle of the night, and you've never been on Rocky 1 before. You've never seen this server. Well, what's the general system? Yeah, RoboDom said Azure accepted my explanation. No, I don't think Microsoft's ever going to agree with me on that, but because my closed captioning is provided by PowerPoint, which is Azure backend, right? At least that's where they send it to. Where are my teeth? You're still getting ads? Not in the new year, right? Let's figure out how we can. Can I? Hold on. Let me see something here. I can click on people. Interesting. Oh, I can't get back to my chat now. I've broken it all, guys. Oh. I have to like pop this out and then pop it back in for my chat. Hold on, guys. Sorry, my chat's all jacked up. Because I chose to click on somebody's name and then now, oh, there, it's back. It's back. All right. So, I've never been on this system before, and somebody calls me out, but the engineer that normally maybe works on it or built the system isn't around. So what am I going to do? I got to figure out what's the version of the system that we're dealing with. And that's my favorite way to find it right there. Cat Etsy Splat Release. Another thing that's very, very important when we first get on a system. John Doe said, can I still give the course a try even if I'm not in time to get certified? Absolutely, John. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome to. We have so much stuff in our Discord from over the years where you're welcome to do any of it. And if you probably ask a question about any of it, I know I'll get back to you. But some other person that's worked on it will probably be like, yeah, you know what, I ran into that same problem and this is what I did. And I'm going to keep the lab environment that we have up so you guys can access the lab and keep working through all of these. You don't have to do it on your own system if you don't want to, right? But these are two of the most important things right here. What type of system am I on? That's going to inform me a bunch of ways about how I look at the network and how I configure the network and how I set up disks and all that kind of stuff. And then the exact kernel version is going to inform me of, well, there's a few things this can inform me of. It can inform me of maybe if there's any conflicts with specific versions of drivers or tools that I'm trying to use, I can go look that up. But mostly, I can just go, if I really had to, guys, I can go to Rocky 2, let's say, clear the screen and say cat etsy splat release and uname-r and go, okay, in this environment, I don't know if you guys can see, there's only two things changing on that terminal. There's three things changing on that terminal. Do you guys see what they are? Look up there in the right in the middle of my terminal, right about where my command prompt is. Do you guys see the two things that are changing right there? There's two things changing, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. So what am I doing here? Well, one, I'm hitting Control A because it's screen and I'm jumping between two windows. But more important than that, I'm comparing two systems, and I'm finding that they're exactly the same. Now, let's see where they're different. Cat proc CMD line. Cat proc CMD line. And I go, oh, shoot, hold on. Oh, hold on, guys. These systems are different. There's something going on here. Something did or didn't get put into these. So now maybe I needed this quiet as one of my kernel parameters, but I don't see it on this other one. And then I'm like, oh, well, Rocky 1 booted in a different way than it was supposed to. Now I'm comparing between two systems. If I needed to take this to a vendor call, like let's say we had just had a problem and I have to open up a new incident because I've done all I can. All my other engineers have done all they can, and we finally have to send this up to CIQ for Rocky support because CIQ is the company that puts out Rocky. And all this is wait, hold on. Where are my teeth? I'm part of a Linux community that was talking junk on the Rocky, still using the 5.1.4, and the newest is more stable. A lot of people care too much about which kernel others are running. Everyone calm down. If the kernel is working fine with your current system, then leave it alone. Where are my teeth? I am definitely not on like the bleeding edge of like Linux support. You guys won't find me running to keep up with like the newest kernel and like building kernels new and that kind of stuff. You guys will find me in the technology adoption curve. I do newer stuff, but a lot of my systems end up staying set on a kernel version for a long time because of the high performance compute nature of them, and we don't move them so much. All right, Ewo, you run Arch, nice. I think people sometimes misunderstand when I say that I think people commonly think that I have a problem with Arch or Debian or some of these ones that are not used out in the industry. I got no problem with what you guys run. I think running anything that can get you to a command prompt is better than nothing. But I tell you guys this is where I think people think I have a conflict. I just say when it's time to go work in the industry, I think you should focus on the ones that are, your Red Hats, your SLES, which SLES is just the SUSE Linux operating system or enterprise system, right? Yeah, SLES is SLES. SLES. That's funny. Anyways, yeah, you guys see Home Lab, that is for server I use Rocky. Yeah. Which, again, guys, I try to tell you, like, if you were doing nothing, just getting to a command prompt is better than whatever else you were doing in all the world. Second to that is as you start to really say, like, hey, I do want to stop being a hobbyist. A lot of us are hobbyists, and we do this for fun. But then if I want to stop being a hobbyist and I want to go get paid for this, then I think, okay, I'm gonna start, doing this other thing. So, all right. So we've got that. We found that out. And then, so we can look at what disks are there. LSBLK, and then block ID. And then we can do like fdisk-L and look for the types of disks, XVD. We can see what's mounted on our system. We can see how it's mounted. We can see the file systems of the things that are mounted. That's up here in block ID. We can do things like mount to just see everything that's in our etc mtab. etc mtab file is the one that gives you all of this stuff. And we could just start to kind of see what the system's doing, right? So that's disks and mounts and file systems. And then we start talking about like system usage stats. And there's 4 big types of things that we want to know about servers. There's 4 big ones. Who knows what the 4 big usage things are? The 4 big usage items. I know we've talked about them a lot, so I want to give you guys time if any of you want to try to guess them while I grab a drink of water. Let me go grab a couple waters out of my fridge. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. I'm right here. Does anybody know what the big 4 are? They are CPU. How much CPU is being used? They are memory. How much memory is being used? They are disk. How much disk utilization is there? And then their network. So network, there's a few ones we can use, but let's say SAR. What's SAR-N? Say 1. And then this would show me like how much network. But now there's some different, I guess you would say different capacities that these can be looked at. As we look at the processor, I'm just looking at the load average and the wait time for the processor, right? This is different than what I might see. So let's clear it up. Let's look at uptime and IO stat. So I just want to see the IO stat for the system, and let's just say like every 5 seconds. Just every 5 seconds, tell me how the system's being used. And those system calls that are being made are generally broken into 2 categories. They're either user system calls, or they are system call. I guess system user kernel calls in system, right? There's some nice and some IO wait and some steal, and those things don't really matter too much to the whole conversation. It's typically user and system added up equal whatever's left over from idle. And if you were to add those up, you would get 100% typically, right? So would you say the system is mostly idle or not? We would call this system mostly idle. Then from within that, we can start to gather like what's going on in the system. We can do PSEF, and that's way too much stuff. So maybe I just say, show me, awk. Show me just the first column, and then of that first column, sort them, and unique-c to count them for me. And I see that this system has UID was just a header, but dbus, polkit-d, root, and RPC. Those are the only things that are running processes on this system. So when you look at this system, you would probably go, that system looks like it's just a base server running, not doing anything else. And I'd say, yeah, you're pretty right. Pretty right. That's pretty accurate to what I would say about kind of what's going on here. Yeah. So that's your CPU usage, right? Then you got your memory usage on the system, right? And you could do this. This is real time. But I kind of feel like at the risk of being made into a meme, ain't nobody got time for all that. Look at that. That is real time what the system's using and everything, but that's real hard to read. So most of us like to use free, and free even by itself is a bit much. So free dash in megs, or maybe free dash in gigs, but that, whoops, lowercase g. But that doesn't look too cool because that's too precise. So maybe we go back to free dash m, and maybe we then add a t to it because we want to see the total at the end. Yeah, ain't no one got time for that. It goes well with your name, Where My Teeth, which is just bad grammar, however you look at it. Unless it was Where Are My Teeth, and then that would still be awkward. Anyways, all right. I've never played with NetBird. No, EWO on site. I've never played with NetBird. So, oh, Robodom, you linked that over to YouTube. Thank you for that. Yeah, I made that little thing so it'll alert people on from Nightbot. And it just lets people know that like the book's on sale. We put a little coupon together. So Where are my teeth? That's funny. All right. So yeah, memory, CPU. Now, again, like CPU has the weight against the kernel, or sorry, the weight against the CPU, and then there's also the usage. So there's different ways to look at that. Memory is kind of either an all or nothing. You're either using your memory or not. Although things can be in buffer cache, and then if they're over in the buffer cache, they might not be free, and that's going to matter a lot when you're working in databases and stuff. But I bring that up to say, like, you just got to get used to your tools. And then, you know, the next one that I mentioned was disks, right? So your disks have a component of space, and they have a component of what are called inodes or pointers, and both of these can run out, and the behavior would be different between the two of them if you had one of them run out. Now, I'm going to tell you, in all my years of running Linux, I have never run out of inodes except in the case of high performance compute, and only in the case of large parallel file systems, specifically one called GPFS. That's the only one, GPFS, that I've ever had inodes run out, and that's been twice. But you can keep track of inodes. In fact, your desktop, not desktop, your pointers coming out of I say pointers, your data points coming out of Node Exporter actually have that. Let me see. Do I have? Let me cat. Let's do this. PSEF grep-i for Node. We do not have Node Exporter running on this, so let's go find a box where we do. And let's cat etc. Not cat. Curl 127.0.0.1:9100 metrics, right? And that's going to be a lot of crap to the page, guys. Whoops. Hold on. Hold on. Could have sworn I had. What am I missing here? Where the hell is my node exporter? Oh. I never put node exporter on my main node? Alright, well. Let's go somewhere where I'm pretty sure it is on there. Here's hostbox. Alright, node exporter's running here. Look for node 9100 curl 127.0.0.1:9100 and then metrics, right? This is still going to blow the screen up, guys. This is still going to blow the screen up, right? But then I say, well, what if I just wanted to see grep-i for inode? And now here's all this inode information about my system that Node Exporter knows about and is telling Prometheus about. So if I wanted to use Prometheus in my environment to go dig in and look at, I don't have it there, but if I wanted to go look at Prometheus and dig into how my inodes are doing, I can see them for each of my different devices in my environment here, right? So my point is, it's real easy to track those. That's all it's showing. All right. Anyways, different things. We could talk about security, logs, open ports, processes. All these different things are things that you want to be able to check and you want to be able to understand about a running system. E. Brown over on YouTube said, "Hi, should I use Rocky, CentOS, or it doesn't matter?" E. Brown, I would move away from CentOS if it were me. Building new stuff in my home lab, I almost always use Rocky or Ubuntu 24 now. There's different reasons for that, but I just would stay away from CentOS. You can get just as much out of doing Rocky, or you can even go and download Red Hat on their Red Hat developer platform for free if you're just looking for like some stuff to mess around with. But I would not use CentOS necessarily. I would use Rocky. I would use Fedora. I would use that kind of stuff. That would be my advice. Ewo, you said you do wish they'd use ZFS by default. I saw something a few months ago, and it looked like Linus was kind of, I wouldn't say warming to ZFS, but it seemed like he was less harsh of it than he had been in recent years. And ButterFS is okay too, yeah. For sure, people would learn more about their file systems if they would go in there and play with some of those. So, and anything to get people more. I mean, look, guys, we get in on these things and we make our file systems work, and then we go about our day. But then when you have users and applications in there, you really have. Hey, Puka, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, another year. I tell you guys, it's another year now. I say, did you reach your goals? Did you, did everything happen? I've been saying for a long time, like, and this is not even political. It's just true. Like, I've been an adult since. I was technically an adult when I went in the Army, right? At 18, I signed up at 17. But Clinton was still the president, and then there was Bush, and then there was Obama, then there was Trump, then there was Biden, and now we're back to Trump coming up, right? And what I tell people is this: don't. I'm not trying to get political. This is what I'm about to say is not political. It's for you guys. Who cares who the guy is? It affects you some, but it doesn't affect you as much as like what you choose to do. Like I've watched people under, somebody who they didn't like go and be very successful, and I've watched people go and not be successful. Like I've been watching people, like I got out of high school in '99, and it's 25 years later, and I've watched a whole bunch of people not do anything. So you know what I'm saying? So hopefully, even if Puka, you didn't get everything done this year, go back into it and start studying, start getting into this, because you can do all these things. Oh, Z-Love, I'm not trying to offend people because I don't want people to leave the stream for reasons that they're offended. I have no problem offending people politically. What I'm saying is I don't want to offend anybody right now. I'm just making the point that you can go be successful for yourself. The thing that's happening across country for me, because I'm in Arizona, right, is much less important to me than what I do for myself. So, oh yeah, everybody does try to be offended, that's for sure. All right. So, here's the things we can know about a system. This is one of the nice things too. I tell you guys all the time. One of the nice things about system work is it's a lot like if you guys ever saw the first Gladiator movie, which was a great movie, and the politicians come up to him and they're like, "Would you support this and this and this?" And he goes, "Look, guys, I'm a warrior. I get to look my enemy in the eye on the battlefield. I don't have to do any of this other stuff." And I kind of feel the same way in the systems world. Like, we don't really have to worry about that philosophical stuff. Let's just get in here and make sure our systems have uptime, right? So that's kind of a nice thing too. But anyways, all right. So this is an incident response lifecycle. We hammered this early, and then we kind of came around to it all the way back at the end. Oh yeah. Z-Love, I do think people should be more focused on local stuff anyways. But I tell people all the time, like, what are you doing to make your area better? Like, I take some pride, and, not some small pride, but some actual pride in, I've been teaching for 16 years at the college level. I've taught over 5,000 engineers now how to do this stuff. And I'm hoping that by the time I hit about 30 years of college, I will have taught 10,000 engineers in my career. And I think that's I don't know, for lack of better saying, I think that's a patriotic thing. Like, I think that helps better my country in probably more than almost any other thing I could do to better my country. I mean, I've already done the war thing, so I've already done all that. I don't have to go do that again ever, thankfully. So now I get to sit around and try to make, my life better, engineering better, other people's lives better, because they're getting into these fields and doing stuff. Because I tell you guys, the people that I know that have gone off and done this stuff, they have absolutely changed the trajectory of their career. They were probably gonna make 70, 80K a year, and then now they've moved into the 180 to 250K range without any degrees, and with degrees you can go even higher if you want some of this stuff. So yeah, I think there's definitely money to be made in this stuff, especially when I'm showing you guys here. Incident response stuff, this gets people right here. This is valuable. So what's our responsive capability? This is before something happens. How do we respond? Like, this is when you're sitting on your hands in the data center, or nothing's going wrong in your system. What are you doing? Are you updating your policies so that when somebody goes and dusts off a policy or a procedure, it works for them? Or are they going to go pull out a policy and a procedure to try to fix a system, and it's still going to be set up for Red Hat 4? And you're like, shit, Red Hat 4? Some of those commands don't even exist anymore. Red Hat 4 was like early 2000s, right? So anyways, and then who do we call? Who's on the team of like major incident? Who gets called out no matter what? Even if it's not a networking problem, we don't think. Who still gets called out? Do we page their team? Do we immediately escalate? All these kind of things. Yeah, the CISSP book has so much info on the topic for sure. If you guys want to dig in, and I tell you guys about this tool often. There's a tool out there. This is Sumatra. We were working on this the other day. But we can go open... I don't think I have it right here. Hold on. It's going to show up. I run my Sumatra backwards, so it's kind of dark. Let me pull it up in this other way. Hold on. I'll show you guys something that I think people tend to like. If you Sunflower Doc, where's he at? No, just in documents. This isn't gonna look good. Hold on. Let's open it in Google Chrome. So I haven't shown this in a while, but for people that want to learn their CISSP stuff, go pick this up. This is free. It's online. It's called the Sunflower Doc. And the Sunflower Doc is, look, you can share it for any non-commercial reasons, and as long as you give credit back to Martin Day Frankenreicher. We actually have this up in our Discord as well. Yeah, Puka, I like to look at things in dark mode, so I use the Sumatra for that, yeah. If you guys ever need help inverting Sumatra, just let me know. It's a free tool. But anyways, down here you come in and you look at security and risk management, and you can go down and just see how ready you are for a CISSP test. And you can learn a lot about the different tools and information like that. Yeah, Z-Love, I've had this copy since probably 2017, but yeah, I put it in our Discord. I put it up here, and I noted when I did. It's up in our security topics. I noted when I did that, what's going on here? I noted that if you want to download it, the rule is we just have to make sure that everybody knows who wrote it, and that's what he says. And there it is. Yeah, just give credit. So you guys can download it and use it if you want. I think that's really valuable. Like, being able to come in here and talk to what does a data custodian do? Because a lot of you, maybe you've never even thought about this, guys. If you are admin, if you are root in an environment, did you know that you immediately are a data custodian responsible for every bit of data on all of those systems that you admin for? Have you guys ever thought about how much responsibility you have when you have root in an environment? It is a tremendous amount of responsibility. I was telling my wife, I was like, I've been sitting at work before, and I've thought, like, if I ran one command wrong, I could absolutely 100% have put my company on the news that night, because my company would experience an outage that would not be able to be recovered from for probably weeks. And you say, oh no, yeah, no, you could make a mistake that does that if you have the power but don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. This is one of the reasons I'm so big on inventories. This is why I'm so big on, like, understanding what your tool is pointing at. It goes back to, like, that firearm safety thing. Never point something at something you're not willing to destroy, right? And it's that same kind of idea. This actually comes directly from that doc. The detection, response, mitigation, reporting, recovery, remediation, and lessons learned. These things are... There are many ways to do this, but this is one of the important ways to look at this stuff. So I often tell you guys, when you're looking at your monitoring solution, whatever you do, however you look at your metrics and your telemetry and your logs and your trace data, the main point of detection is to find the problems that happen, right? So you've got this stat that's always going to be coming up in your career, MTTD, mean time to detect. It's not mean like you're being mean to somebody. It means the average time it takes you to detect an incident. And let me just compare two of them. What if the average detection time for your organization to find out something's wrong is about 12 hours? That's terrible. That's probably like real customer facing downtime and real lost money to your business. That is not acceptable for most companies. What if your mean time to detect is only 7 minutes? That's a lot better. But do you think 7 minutes would be very good for, like, Google or, like, Amazon? What if you went to, like, Amazon.com right now and it didn't respond to you for 7 minutes? Didn't respond to anybody on planet Earth for 7 minutes. They'd probably lose $10 million if I don't know, I'd guess. It'd be millions, right? So your mean time to detect is huge because it pushes all of these other ones out in what we call a critical path. And then you have MTTR, which is mean time to recover or repair, mean time to resolve, some of us say, incidents. So your detection pushes all of these out. you can pull some of these things out. Like the lessons learned is after the incident is over, sure, but lessons learned should be done. I know companies, and guys, I'm willing to bet when I say this, some of you are going to go, I know exactly what he's talking about. You do the detection, the response, the mitigation, the reporting, and the recovery pretty good. But then when you go into work after that weekend and after you fixed it, more emergencies keep coming up, so you never really fix it all the way and keep it from coming back, and you never, ever, ever sit down and talk about what was good or bad. Bobby, Tom, I would tell you mean time to resolve is always going to, you're always going to be trying to drive that shorter. And your mean time to resolve is going to be based on, well, there's going to be a few different things that are going to drive what the general targets are. And they are what's called your BIA, your business impact analysis. So this from a directly security standpoint. BIA is your business impact analysis, and that informs your BCP, which is your business continuity plan. And typically within your business continuity plan, your BCP, you're saying things like, okay, these 3 services must have a return to operations, an RTO, or some people call them recovery time objective, or return to operations of 15 minutes. And then that would then become your goal, because your RTO becomes what your mean time to repair should fall into. Then I was talking about this the other day. What if it takes me as a Linux engineer 5 minutes to fix a problem, but my detection never detects it until 12 minutes? That would take 17 minutes to fix the problem. We would always be outside of what our goal was, right? Our recovery time objective. And I would always look like shit, even though my team, the detection was the bad part. So I need to help my team drive detection down. That may be outside of my team. That may be like a network operations center or something else. But it's me on the Linux side that does, the alert, or the site reliability engineers if we're a big enough company. And I have to help them, It's the same thing with our software guys. If our dev teams aren't going to alert stuff out and they're not going to tell us what their logs look like and this kind of stuff, what does it matter if it's all going to Splunk? If there's some trigger that informs the system that it's about to crash, somebody needs to know that. It can't just be some guy that wrote it one time and put it in his logging and said, oh, that's good, I'll never touch that shit again. No, that's terrible. Right? So anyways, something to think about. But these are things that I try to get you guys to look at. In the policies and procedures, there are 2 very critical things here that sans.org is such a good tool, because look, they've got all these policies out there. So we can go to sans.org information security policy, and they have all these policies that you can use, so you don't have to be starting from a blank page. So that's kind of very important. It's sans.org information security policy. And then this other one is they also have the sans.org cheat sheets, right? And then this one, it was dropping us into their here's their ultimate list of cheat sheets, and these are the ones that are really good at turning into procedures. All right. I said, what are you doing in an incident? So this is like, what are you actually doing? I like to have a notepad open with whatever else I'm doing. And these are the things I always do. I always note when I'm alerted. When was I called out? What are they telling me is wrong, right? Note when I was alerted, note when I joined the bridge. I was alerted at 8 p.m. I got on the bridge call at 8:03. I announced myself as the member of the Linux or the Unix team, whatever your team is called, and then I went from there. I said check and test assumptions. People will tell you all the time, Rocky 1 rebooted, and you go, not tonight it didn't. But they'll be like, oh no, well, what I meant was that I said Rocky was unavailable, but what I meant was the service on Rocky was unavailable. And you're like, okay, I can't expect other members of other teams to be as technical about things as I would, or other people. So I will test assumptions for anything anybody tells me, right? And I've been on calls, where eventually they call out the Unix team or the Linux team, and this is maybe hours into a call, and I start asking questions, and they're like, well, you know what? we found that it actually was traced all back to you guys over on Linux. And I go, okay, how did we find that? Oh, well, and then I start testing assumptions, and I find that, no, actually, you guys can't even reach my servers anymore. Why can't they reach my servers? Well, they can't reach my servers because they changed the firewall settings last night. There was actually a ticket on it that was in the non-prod space. We didn't know it was going to affect these production servers. Somebody affected more, in their firewall scope than they expected to. They affected more subnets and VLANs than they expected to. That's a thing that happens, right? But anyways, I will test and check assumptions. If I can see this right here, I know I could SSH to the box, so I know the server's up and I know it's responding to IP from wherever my jump box is. So now I have to be able to kind of mentally map in my head, where's my jump box coming from? Other people are trying to jump directly into it, but I'm not trying to jump directly into it. I'm jumping off a device that's in my network, right? So these are the kinds of things that we have to understand. Test assumptions. Server can do certain things, server cannot do certain things. Then we document the anomalies. I like to document, if I find something that's way off of what I expect, I say I find the server was unable to ping out to Google, but able to ping its gateway. So in this case, I was wrong. I could ping Google, but I also pinged its gateways. Here's its gateway. That's the next hop out. So what I mean by that is this. I'm on a server, right? I was on a jump box. So let me jump back over here so it's a little more apparent what's happening. I am on my jump box. I've just jumped into my environment. I got logged in the middle of the night. Yeah, Google's down. Yeah. I got logged in the middle of the night. I'm on my jump box, and I go, okay, can I jump into, this server that they're asking me about? And then I get in there, and then I maybe become root. Give it a second. Become root. Maybe, and I go, okay, the server's up, but now from this server, I needed to get over to like Rocky 2 because that's what we were looking on. Okay, Rocky 2 looks healthy. How long's he been up? He's been up 3 days. So this didn't start tonight when there was a reboot, right? Then I ping, can he get out to Google? There's so many things that this tells me. It tells me that I'm resolving DNS. That's all the way up through layer 7. So I'm talking out to whoever my DNS resolvers are. Now, if this works, and then I ping www.192.168.200.1, which happens to be the jump box in this, or the C router in this environment. That's my gateway. Okay, I got there. Then let's say maybe this hadn't worked. Well, I would start to look for, am I using an internal DNS resolver or an external? So I might cat etsy resolve.conf. And I'm using only an external DNS resolver. 8.8.8.8 is Google's. It's out in the world somewhere. It's not one of my internal ones. But maybe I am using an internal one like 192.168.11.1, which is my internal DNS, right? And that might inform where I go troubleshoot next based on how these things resolve. Also, just because I can ping it and just because I can resolve it here doesn't mean there's not still something wrong. Watch this one. I can host www.google.com, and I can see its IPv4 address, and I can see its IPv6 address, right? So I can ping IPv4. Boom. Got it. Control-C to get out of that. And I should be able to ping 6 this, right? But that network's not available. Well, what the heck? Why can't I ping IPv6? Do I know, and I happen to know this in my home lab, I happen to know that my IPv6 connection is not routable through this network to the other one. My C router doesn't allow that. It's not set up for that right now. I was telling you guys the other night, I could set that up, I just haven't. So, I'm testing assumptions, I'm validating things are the way I think they are or are not. I can compare this to, again, that Rocky 1 server and do all those same things, because this is the one that I got called out on. Maybe this Rocky 2 server isn't doing what it's supposed to. So then now I'm troubleshooting, okay, where are they different? Oh, did I just find out that you guys are alerting on Rocky 2, but it's actually all the Rocky boxes? I've got 19 Rocky servers. Are they all doing this behavior? That's bad. We're going to have a bad night now, right? So there's all this kind of stuff to think about. I document anomalies. If I thought something was supposed to happen and it did or it didn't, I will note that and I will put it up into our bridge call. So whatever, call or however you've been called out to, and I will capture the output. I can capture the output directly in my terminal. I can do something like this where I just grabbed a picture of it to show you guys. But I will capture that output because I don't want to find out later that I told somebody something and then they found out something else, maybe from another team or in their own investigation, and my stuff is incorrect. Well, maybe my stuff's incorrect because the timing of the system, like the system wasn't fully up yet or something. But the point is, I will capture the output so I know when something happened. And then I like to be, I call this being above reproach. I don't want somebody else to be able to come later and say that I was incorrect as an engineer, because that's the only thing we deal in as a currency. The only currency you deal with as an engineer is how correct you are. You know that old joke about you, sir, are technically correct, the best kind of correct. Yes, always. And I tell my engineers, be above reproach. Do not let somebody come back and say you gave them bad info, ever. Have the, as they say nowadays online, have the receipts to back it up. But it's really, prove your work, right? And then I report I report stuff out to the bridges I find them. I document it two ways typically, Z-Love. It's right in my terminal. I have a recorder running on this, so all of this is getting logged. But also, as I'm doing things, I am constantly pulling them out to my notepads. So I would have a notepad up for this incident. Do I have other stuff? No, this is when I was building stuff the other day. But look at all, these are very raw notes. I would never show somebody these notes, right? Yeah. So I will pull out, so it's almost like this is recording everything for me, right? So I can go back and look at all this. But over here, this is like my raw notes as I found things salient and important, right? And then I pulled them out over here as the incident was happening. And then when I was done, I had all of like the timestamps of when things happened between the two things or whatever. And then I will report to the bridge if I'm looking for something and I start to find stuff, I'll start to report that into like a bridge call or a Teams or a Slack. But then also if I don't find anything for like 30 minutes, I'll still message up and say, hey, I haven't found anything yet. This is what I've done so far. I find no anomalies in these systems, and I would just keep going until I've gathered like the scope of a problem or the size of it or when I think it started. All of these kind of things I'm always kind of looking for, right? So this is what we talked about in that. Lab tasks for the week were a full system checkout, and you guys were writing that little blog post. Verification of what you do and don't know about a system. And then I made you guys do some stuff with cron and cron tab, right? Just understanding how those time things look. All right. So that was Unit 4. Who's ready for Unit 5, or do you guys need a break? Who needs a break? I hear nothing for a break. So, we're up to Unit 5. We're just kind of speed running, and this is our end of the year, kind of hanging out together. Got to get to the far out store before rush hour West Coast. Nice, Z-Love. Yeah. Thanks for coming by. We're not working too hard here. We're just kind of hanging out. This was all the way back in October now, right? So we were now going on. Yeah, we had 208 people eventually. So let's talk about last week. We talked about the operations bridge, and then about how you write out an incident. And then this week, we reviewed the page attack.miter.org. Let's see, James, what did you say? Very good practice. I've heard situations where everything is verbal and repeatedly shifting did not go well for the repetition. Yeah, James, I'm just telling you, like, there's an old saying, anything worth remembering is worth writing down. And I say this, I tell you guys often that I'm not like the smartest engineer I've ever met. I've met really brilliant engineers. But I will tell you this one thing. I'm not super smart, but I've always had a good memory. And of the engineers I've known, I'd always be in the top, I'd say top few percentile, right? Of memory, like having a memory around like a system. But that slips. My memory is not nearly as good in my 40s as it was in my 20s. It's just not. I don't type as well. I don't remember things nearly as well. I'm not nearly as sharp. So I tell you guys, write stuff down because you will forget it. I don't care how smart you are. The only guys that don't have to write stuff down are like those guys on the crime shows that like have perfect recall. Like who was the kid on, there's the kid on the hell is that show called? Not Cold Case. This is one my brother really loved. There was one of those crime ones. Anyways, he had like perfect memory recall and stuff. And it's like, there's always, that's how they all are, right? They're always about how smart these guys are. Trying to get there back before all the early leavers clogged the road. Yeah, Z-Love, I get it. Well, I appreciate you coming by for sure. What do? We talked about a blog. We talked about your dot files. People spend their whole career like massaging their bash RC to all the stuff they want. So that's kind of important. Yeah, and then James, another one that's really important for people that want to get good at like incident management is follow a framework. Get a tool like Kepner Trago. Those are great tools for people buy those, people find those online. But how do we drive an incident from start to finish? And the more that we do the same, the better we get at doing those things and gathering the info we need. And typically, by being methodical, we can drive to the right answer on a problem. That's a like a thing that we believe about engineering, right? Like if I have info and I keep gathering, I will eventually ask why enough times to solve a problem, right? All right, so topic of the discussions were users and groups and scanning in the new rating system. Oh, this was the one I think I made you guys do some system scanning, right? So we did some network scans and then targeted scans. We wrote out a report about the data. We did system names and IPs, system open ports and services, system type, if you can determine the type of system you were dealing with. And let me see if I can pull up this lab, because I seem to recall, maybe it was in, it might have just been in the discussion for that week. What are we in, 5? Let me see if I can find the worksheet. Here's what we did in that worksheet. So there was the MITRE stuff. What terms and concepts are new? Have you guys all seen, everybody here been to attack.mitre.org? If you've never been over here, this is what they call the MITRE kill chain. And it starts with reconnaissance and it goes all the way over until you got owned and you're on the internet, right? There's all these different things in between, but they talk about the techniques that are used and it can give you a good idea. This is, if you ever do any red teaming, if you ever work in any of this stuff, this will help you to understand what's happening. Hey, thanks for the subscription of Prime. Shaq, you could use that anywhere, and you chose to use it here, so I always appreciate that kind of stuff. You guys are, keeping me motivated. End of the year, right? It's the very end of the year. We're going over the last of the little stuff. Man, I was really wishing that Discord would have had a cool little end of the year thing, so I could have shown you guys that, we started out this year probably around 800 people, if I had to guess. And then we got up in March, we hit 1,000. And then April, right at the end of April, we kind of picked up. We had a really interesting video, I guess, on YouTube and had a couple 100,000 views on that. And now here we are with almost 4,000 people hanging out on the server, right? So we kind of just kept moving along, kept people maybe not interested, but we for sure kept people thinking that they could do Linux. And I think you guys all can. I think every one of you are capable of getting into this field if you want to. But anyways, this is what the MITRE attack framework looks like, right? And if you go and review that, I said, what terms and concepts are new to you? Sometimes learning things requires you to reflect and go, hey, I thought I knew everything, but then I went and hung out there for 5 minutes and realized I did not know everything. And then what you do from there is you pivot over and you go, well, now I need to study it. Now I need to go learn some stuff. Hey, Atticus, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. I won't be on too late tonight, but we are just kind of celebrating the end of the year. And if people are going to make goals around stuff next year, hopefully it's around learning and getting better at Linux. Try to get, more people. I always think the group is successful when I get more people doing Linux. But anyways, so the next one was find a blog post or article about your bash RC files and just think about how you can set those up. I know guys that have been tweaking their bash RC for their entire career. And then you got guys like me. In 21 years, I've probably set my bash RC like 3 times ever. I don't even carry a bash RC with me. You can drop me like that survivor dude in the middle of nowhere and I'll just start doing Linux on a system, right? The one thing I will always want is my screen file, though, if I can. But other than that, I don't care. And then like, what kind of custom? But see, so I have little things that I care about, little proclivities. What are some customizations you might like? Some of you guys really do cool stuff with colors. I've seen some really good stuff around colors on systems where if you're in a certain environment, it'll be red to let you know you're in prod. I don't do well with colors because I'm colorblind. Plus, I like to look at a black screen. So I don't think that green and red would work very well for me, but some people can. And then I said, what problems can you anticipate around helping users with their dot files? Let me tell you this. In my career, in my many years of helping many developers who are very smart people in their own right, but tend to not be so much in on Linux, the main help you might be able to give them is to prove to them that it's their fault. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean is you wipe their dot files and go put them in an archive folder, and then you set back to the original dot files, and their user magically starts working. Then they look at you and go, and they realize it's their fault. And then you say, well, here's your original dot files, pull what you can out, and you leave them to troubleshoot it, because you can't be responsible just because you sell houses to what people put inside their house, right? And as a Linux admin, you're much more concerned with the fact that people have a house than what they do inside of the house. If they burn the house down every 5 minutes, it's not my fault. Like, I can't keep everything working. The flow of stream when there's swing back and forth between an expert and a noob on the daily. Yeah. Run amucker, Midnight Commander is S tier color theme for terminals. I'll die on that hill. I don't know if I've ever seen Midnight Commander. I think I've seen that name in something. Who uses that? It's not here. Where have I seen Midnight Commander at? See, this just has light and dark. I think that's in... Is that in VS Code? Hold on. Is there a... You guys that use VS Code, is that... I know that's a normal color scheme, Runamucker, but I'm trying to think of where I've seen it. Can I configure my terminal? Editor, playground. I've definitely heard Midnight Commander before, but it's been a long time. I don't know where it is in here. I don't use this tool that much. I don't know. All right, can't find it. Might be up here. Figure editors. Oh, you sons of bitches. That's not what I want. Get out of here. All right, anyways. All right. Where are we at? So we did scanning and enumeration of system. I didn't see what I was looking for there. Let me check this other thing real quick. Hold on. So in Unit 5, was it part of the lab? Let me see here. Managing users and groups. Yep. You had to learn how to do management of users and groups. And then did I have the scanning? Huh. No. Just user stuff. Alright. Well, I don't know where it is then, guys. I don't know where it is. If it wasn't in any of this, definitions, lab. It was here. Okay. Hold on. So we did those two talks. Then we had some definitions and terminology you needed to know, and then we came down here. Hold on. Here's the lab and assignment. It was Unit 5. You had to do that management of users and stuff. Mr. Extremely, how's it going? We're just hanging out. We're not working too hard. And yeah, so I had this little assignment for you guys. Was to map the internal ProLUG network 192.168.200.0, and I wanted you guys to come in here and figure out what the network looked like. And here was the mapping. You had a network. You had all the Rocky servers over here. Then you had these other servers in this other range that you had to find. And then you had this server over here doing whatever he was doing. And then you had maybe this node. And I said, map these devices in these ranges and tell me what they're doing. So you found those. Some of you guys found those already. Some of you are sending me the stuff later. Book of Flabs. That's pretty funny, Akshanya. So mapping like how our environment is. Now you could map the Rocky servers, but they were given the 50 through 69 and the final octet. But these were the other ones I wanted you guys to know. What was going on with these servers? And then you were starting to work on your project, and then you were starting to dig in. I think I left that one blank for week 5. All right. there's that. And then, yeah, the lab tasks that week were to go in, look at the shadow file suite, which is Etsy PassWD, Etsy Shadow, Etsy Group, and Etsy G Shadow. Yeah, those are the 4. And then how do we make users? And I explained to you guys that we do the creation of users in different ways. Sometimes you do it as a Linux engineer and you just do user add whatever, right? And that's one-off. That's not very good. There's a whole bunch of reasons why it's not the best to do stuff like that. One of the main ones is if I make a user Scott on one server and I make a user Scott on a different server, are they the same user? Like if their name is Scott on 2 different servers and then I have a shared network between the 2 of them, right? A shared network file system, let's say. Are those users the same when they write files in that file system? And that's an important question as you're making users. Most of the time, we have an enterprise centralized place that will track our users. It will give our users the ability to like connect in on a system or whatever. We looked at dot files in a user's home directory and we understood what the dot files are doing. What does it mean to put a dot in front of a file in Linux? I know we think we're very clever. We're hiding files by putting them in plain sight and just putting dots on the front of them. All that really happens is ls ignores them unless you do a -a and then it like winks at you and does, whatever you say to. There's the Etsy Skell directory and how does that populate user home directories? And one of the questions I always ask is if you add something to Etsy Skell, does it populate users that are already there on the system? And how do you know that? Could you go test that? We have this saying in engineering, 1 test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. We could sit around and argue all day here, but why don't we just go and do it one time? And then when we do it one time, we know there's no more talking about it. There's no more discussion. The system has done it. We know what the behavior is, right? And I tell you guys, a lot of my career has been understanding or trying to understand the behavior of new stuff that comes out and understanding how that builds into my pipelines and my servers and all these different things, right? All right. And then we did a little more on file system permissions. We dealt with access control lists and how 777 octal permissions work and all that kind of stuff, right? All right, so that was a lab task for week 5. Questions, hit me up in Discord. All right, so let's go to Unit 6. I just got these all in order in case you guys are wondering. I'm just knocking them out. Unit 6 was October 19th. And we were at 200. We got to 208 if you guys recall. But the last week before this, we had talked about attack.miter and then the blog about the dot files. So that was the last week. Then on this week, we had some firewalls on our servers. This is fun. We're going to go look this one up. And then I said, explain to management, now that you're the firewall guy, explain the difference between firewalls and web application firewalls. Are they similar? Do they do the same thing? Is there ever an instance where you would need 2 of these running in front of a server? The answer to that question is yes, by the way. There is a reason, but you needed to be able to tell us what that was, right? I'll pull both of these up. Here was the lab for that week. Lab had you going into our Rocky environment, do some basic little stuff, touch some server, touch some files, move some stuff around. Cool. Go look for some tools, make sure they were there. Understand what a no-hup means. What does it mean to be in a no-hup environment? And what does it mean that the execution of a process is independent from the shell that called it, right? That kind of stuff. So we talked about all that. Then we got into the actual system down here. Oh, look, more screen. Then we got down in here around firewalls, and you looked at the firewall that was running. You saw if it was enabled or if it was active dead. What did we have to do to turn this thing on, right? How did we fix it? How do we add in different ports and allow the system to work? And then come down here and we can work with the ports and services. Did you know you could write these yourself? I was actually showing you guys this. Look how easy this is. So in here, let's just look at this http.xml, right? And this is going to allow, there's going to be a service that's going to allow port 80 TCP to come into my system. Here's the full service definition in XML. Now, whenever you work with a markup language, you can think of markup languages many ways, but let me pause. This is the way that I think of them. I just think of them as if I open a door, I have to close the door. So if I go into the room service, and I can define all of these components in here of a service, when I'm done defining service and I'm all done in the room, I have to leave the room. That's how I think about it. It might not work for everybody, but that's how I do it. I think the same way in HTML. So I turn on service, and then in here we have short. We define a short description, and then we stop defining short. We exit that room, as it were. Then we have a full description, and we have the end of a full description. And then we have a little tricky one where we have a port definition, and inside of there we have two tags, as it were, like key value pairs, protocol equals TCP, port equals 80. And then at the end we have that slash, the forward slash, right? And the end of the bracket. So this is both the opening and the closing in one set of brackets. And that's a pretty common thing that's allowed inside of like HTML nowadays and stuff as well. Gone are the days where you have to write this out every time. You can shorthand it like this. Okay. And then we close out the service. So we've got a short, we've got a description, and then we've got a port definition with a protocol of TCP and a port of 80. Well, I should be able to take this right here and make up my own little, I should be able to make up my own one of these, right? Like maybe I have PostgreSQL. Let's see what this one is. Maybe this is the default port of Postgres, which is 5432. And maybe I say, yeah, but you know what? In my environment, 5432 is already one of our application ports. And just to go ahead and save us trouble, I'm going to use 6543. I'm going to use 6543 in my environment for all my Postgres stuff. All my Ansible will be set up to define it and deploy it that way. Could I go ahead and copy this right here, this PostgreSQL, and have our own internal little custom one that starts up? Yeah, you could do that. Just copy this over to right? I VI our Postgres custom, and I modify it to our new port, which was 6543, whatever. And then it's, we can just say custom, and then maybe, I don't know, Redline. Let's say we were using my company Redline, PostgreSQL, and then boom. Now if I cap my PostgreSQL custom, that's there as one of the definitions. And then within Firewall D, if I reload the Firewall D, I should be able to see that. Okay, so all this to show you guys. Look, and you can come in here and then you can go read, and you can look at any one of these, and then you can add that service into a zone, and then it would be allowed, right? As long as you add permanent. If you don't add permanent, it'll only be on that one load of the firewall. All right, there's a whole bunch of things for you guys to go play with and look at in there, but we're not going to deal with it all right now. Now we get over here. This is actually funny. This is from the worksheet, and here was our first discussion post, right? A ticket's come in from an application team. That's always scary, because typically if an application team's messaging you, there's something actually really wrong, right? Not just like some user going, I can't get in a Linux box, and you're like, you can't get in a Linux box. You're trying to get in it through a web browser or something, right? Obviously that's not going to work. But anyway, so over here, a ticket has come in from an application team. Some of the servers your team built for them last week have not been reporting up to the enterprise monitoring, and they need to be able to troubleshoot a current issue, but they have no data. Now, this might make you wonder something. The servers were built last week, but they're just now finding out that there's no data flowing. Seems like that should be a check, right? When I hand over servers, one of the things you should do is you should have to validate, yeah, hey, we can see the data in the enterprise monitoring solution, right? You guys have turned on, right? You jump on the servers and find that your engineer built everything correctly. Look, Node Exporter, Ceph Exporter, and Logstash Exporter are on the servers. They're running. They are applications, they are agents as they were that your company uses for whatever reason. And I say, but they have also adhered to a new company standard of Firewall D must be running. So they've turned on Firewall D. All these are on, but there's also a firewall on. No one has documented the ports that need to be open, so you're stuck between the two standards. There's a new one that's required, Firewall D, and you've got to fix this problem on your live systems. And the question is, what do you do? So I say, as you're looking this up, what terms and concepts are new? What are the ports that you need to expose? What is Node Exporter? We know that was 9100 from earlier when we were talking. Ceph Exporter and Logstash I pulled out of blue air or thin air, so I don't even know what they are. I don't know what they are right off the top of my head. And I said, what are you going to do to fix this on your firewall? So then now your job is to go and figure out what's going on there. All right. So there's that one. This is all old, by the way. These are all up in the Discord. You could go down here. You could go to our ProLUG projects, and we'd be down in Unit 6 now. And people said this is what they would do, right? This was web application firewall versus some of this other stuff. Huh. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I just got a weird Instagram call from a bunch of my buddies. I don't know if they actually want me to join it. All right. Where are we at here? Man, I've been going for an hour 40. So this one was good. Hold on. So I thought this one was good. So your manager or a manager, some other person in the company heard that you were the one that saved the new application. So in the last one, you figured it out, and then now it's getting around that you're the firewall guy. So yeah, apparently it was like an Instagram call. Like my buddies tried to make a... Hold on real quick. Who the hell's messaging me here? Sorry, people are messaging me about stuff. Sorry, I'm getting like lots and lots of texts. Need a minute. All right. So this one was interesting to me. I like this one anyways because I think we got some good response on this one. So your some manager heard that you saved the new application by fixing the firewall. So now immediately you just got titled as the firewall guy or firewall gal if you're a gal. And it's like, well, here you go. Now they got your manager to approach you because they need some help. You know, a vendor's pushing them to run a WAF in front of their web application, but they think that the firewall's just enough. Now they need you as the firewall guy to review it and tell them if they should be doing both. So I want you to think about that. Is a web application firewall different and more important to do in front of a web application, you know, that's web facing? Or is just a normal firewall, which is probably operating at layer 4 and below, going to be enough? And what's the difference? Yeah, Robodom, I didn't know you could call on Instagram like that either. So, and then I said, what do you know about the differences after you read about them? What are you going to do to figure out more? And I said, prepare a report for them comparing them and comparing it. Now, in a lot of this, I let you guys use AI. I said, you guys can use AI if you want. Just let us know if you do, right? So over here, somebody set up, like, what's a traditional firewall? What's a web application firewall? How do they differ? There's some pretty good differences there. What's the use cases and recommendations that you might find? So lots of information in here for even if you guys want to go just review what some of these differences are. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? What do you think, right? And this is one of these things where maybe you've never even heard of any of this. Well, go read about it, right? Because that's what every other engineer on planet Earth does, right? If you're not the one developing it, you're the one that's working on it, right? And you're learning how to work it out from the other things you know and the systems and all that stuff. Anyways, and sometimes it's also valuable to compare two things. We know what a firewall does, or we thought we did, but then we look at what a web application firewall does, very specific to that layer 7 application of HTTP or HTTPS. Some web application firewalls do TLS termination at them, and then that allows your systems to not have to incur that overhead of cryptography, right? And that can save them some money. Crazio, thanks for the Prime. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. You can use your Prime anywhere. You chose to use it here. I always appreciate that. That makes you feel good. Keeps me motivated going into the new year. We are having, I was telling you guys this earlier, we are having a big event at the start of the new year. So in a few days, we're going to have a big ProLUG New Year event. We're probably just going to hang out. I tried to get some technical people to come talk. I didn't really have any success getting the job recruiters I wanted to. It's really interesting. I told you guys, this is one of my complaints on our little complaint department, is if you go to LinkedIn, they will try to be your best friend on there. But then when you ask them something about, hey guys, let's talk about having you come talk about your business and your, what you guys need as recruiters, they won't even come talk to the group. And you're like, well, I guess there we go. So it's super weird to me. All right. Definitions. You need to know what a firewall is. What's a zone? What's a service? What's a DMZ, a demilitarized zone? What does that mean? What's a proxy? What's a forward and a reverse proxy? What does it mean? Like, a proxy means on behalf of, but what is the difference between a forward and a reverse proxy? What's a web application firewall and a next-gen firewall, and how are they different? They're different. They're as different from each other as these are different from them. What's stateful packet filtering versus stateless packet filtering? And why might you want to know about the two? Most of you guys probably have seen, like on a home device, a home router or a home device, stateful packet filtering, SPI. SPI is stateful packet inspection. SPI firewalls, but they're stateful packet filtering firewalls. That's what they are. Then we talked about doing your assignment and talking about your project, and then digging deeper was you were going to go look at some firewall security guides and read more about them, right? All right. So that was that week. Did I ever finish all that? Okay, good. And then we talked about no-hop environments and firewalls. What types are there? When would you use them? One or all of them? And then we talked about the no-hop process. That's this idea that I can jump into a server, start a process running, and even if I disconnect, we're not going to lose that process. Anybody here ever run something and it was taking a long time, and then you leave your terminal shell and it kills that process off, and then now you have to either start it over or abandon whatever you were doing? Well, no, if you no-hop the process, it'll stay going even if you leave. And that's really, really important. So, how can we use this, and where does it relate to jump boxes? Well, I like to jump into servers and then use them to connect into my environment. And then when I'm done, I can leave and go somewhere else and reconnect back into that server. It's a persistent value in my environment. I've shown you guys this before. Whoops. I can be here from anywhere on planet Earth. I can be on this server doing this. And then when I'm done, I just close it up, move out of my environment. I come back in. I'm on a brand new clean connection back into my home lab here, right? And on this server, I'm reconnecting back into that device, that same, whoops. Hopefully I can get back in. Become root. Oh, I exit root. Screen-ls to see my screen sessions. Screen-r to go to 73684. And then now I'm back in that exact same environment I just was in. Didn't even lose a packet if I was pinging. If anybody cares, I could ping Google, leave, right? Come back. That's still running and pinging Google in the background. It's scrolling off the screen as we speak. Don't want to do that. Want to do that? Boom. Back end still pinging. Right? There we go. You want a ranger check? I can't do a ranger check right now, Robedom, unfortunately. Because the reason I can't do a ranger check is because the wife is down there taking apart his stuff, and she has requested for the day not to be on stream. So, give me 1 second real quick. All right. Anytime you do it, you got to wipe it. So there we are. New password. All right. Anytime you do it. So, what are some tools that we can use to run our shells no hup? We got tmux. We've got screen. You could write your own if you wanted to. Hold on. All right. Checking on stuff. Yeah, we will check on Ranger here in a little bit. Let me check something real quick about it. Let me see here. Yep, wife's still down there putting his stuff away, so I can't show it on stream. All right, no hup. And then for the tasks on week 6, we did setting up screen, which was the tool that we mostly use. And then setting up screen, firewall configurations, checking zones, applying zones to interfaces, and then writing new service definitions, which are all just kind of like the tasks we looked at. We didn't do them. You could do them in the lab if you want to. All these labs are going to stay up at least through probably like February. And then if we kind of want to go from there in the future, we'll do that. Yeah. So lab test this week, and then that was our end of that one. So that was Unit 6, right? That was what we did in Unit 6 for the environment. And then let's go and... Oh, excuse me. Let's go look at... Let's go do one other thing fun real quick. Close our MITRE stuff down. We're going to keep an eye on this for a little bit. Here, look at all these attempts to get in, especially from root. Root's the most common. This is the last 6 hours of login attempts to my server. A lot of people trying to get those last few compromised systems before the end of the year, and they're getting themselves kicked out forever. But there's my invalid attempt when I tried to log in, and that was from my local machine there. Kritzico, you got your CKA and your CKAD this month. That's one of those. That's one of those kings to you type situations. That's pretty good. Everybody know what kings to you is? It's a king for a day. Basically, you. That's pretty nice, man. Yeah, Kritzy. That's really cool. I hope that one. I hope that helps you find work that's hopefully meaningful and valuable, right? Gets you paid, and then also. I hope that that will, you know, hopefully have people ask you questions about it, and then, you know, you can help other people down in the Discord and stuff about that. But that's awesome. Mr. Extremely, yeah, I run fail to ban, and I don't set a different port. I use port 22. Because here's the thing, if you're going to expose a SSH port, it's going to give the header anyways. So it doesn't matter if you change it from port 22 to port 20,022. It doesn't affect anything, because what would happen is that's funny what it actually said that I said. But 200022, that would be 200,000. No. Yeah. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they get kicked out after 5 attempts. So the main reason I wanted to do this was just to see if anything happened here. I was curious about something. Yeah, Kritzy, you're going to go do some Go K8 stuff. Nice. Nice. Sure, Kata as well. I don't think I've ever played with that one. All right, but we've been going for almost 2 hours, so I might take a break here in a second. But real quick, let's see. Here's my notepad. Here's my other stuff. Let's pull this back up. Let's get this out of the way. Let's go to unit. What was our next unit? We were going to go to unit 7. Unit 7 was about, this is at the end of October. And we talked about, quick reminder, hold on to your stuff. We were up to 208 people again. And we talked about fixing your firewall, right? And deconflicting a new corporate requirement from things that you had put on as agents, but nobody had ever thought to allow the ports for the agents. So you had to figure that out. And then explain WAF and firewall to management and get that working. So that was kind of what we did in week 7. And then, or in week 6. In week 7, we got into software versioning, and why is versioning so important to security? Well, versioning is how we think about everything. With versioning is around how common vulnerability, the common vulnerability and exposures are, and what we have the CVSS scores for. They are all based on the version of the tool that is compromised, and the number of versions back in which people were able to find that compromise, right? Then we talked about installing software and verifying it is approved to put on the system. How do we install software? Where are our package management servers looking for as repos? And how do we verify that those are supposed to be what they are? And then we talked about software package groups and how they affect the system baseline. You know, you can't just drop a whole bunch of new packages on a system. It updates so many different dependencies. If you're always doing a yum-y update, that might be fine in your home labs, guys, and that might be fine in your home environment, but that is not always safe to do in the corporate world. Sometimes we like to do a yum and make sure that all of our systems are pointed to the right repository. They all have the same number of packages. Like they all expect to do 215 updates. Well, that's good. But if one of them only wants to do 207, that's weird. That's an outlier. There's something different about that system than the others, and it might behoove you to go look that up before you go touching anything, right? All right. Software package groups. Anyway, so then there's worksheet, there's a lab, and then I keep reminding you guys to do your projects each week. So what were our topics of discussion that week? Package management. How do we update? When do we update? How do we remove old unused software? What software packages, where are the software packages stored? And when were they last updated? And then what files are brought in with a package from a package manager? So you've got, if you're in a lab, like this is a Rocky, just our lab environment. And we clear this lab environment up. And we say, how do we update? So we do like a DNF update. And this server is going to go and it's going to see what packages are out there in the world that it could update. There are dependencies and different things that might be required for some of the installations. Here's all the things that can be updated right here. These are, look, we've got what's being installed. We always install kernels. Here's what's being upgraded. and what's being upgraded would be going to a new version. Here's the repository those things came out of. And we see this common theme of base OS and AppStream, base OS and AppStream. That's where most all of this is coming from. So then we can go look at where those are. So etc yum.repos.d. Your system is configured to look at these repos. So more rocky repo, and here our base OS is going and looking for a list of mirrors at this location. Right? Mirrors.rockylinux.org, mirror list, and then they're looking for the architecture of whatever the variable base architecture is. And the repo is equal to base OS dash release version. Release ver and release type. So if those variables exist, I should be able to see them. Now they might not be in here, they might be defined somewhere else. Looking at cum.conf, they're not down there. Might be able to man DNF and see where it's pulling those from. But if those are actually defined already somewhere, like in a variable, we should be able to find them. I think they're actually generated. I think it searches for them. Yeah, so that doesn't exist. Mr. Extremely, you said sometimes you look into GPG, people that have access via GPG to your systems. Mr. Extremely, typically people get into my systems, the ProLUG systems with I'll just build users with passwords. I never actually opened it up, but we could do login through like Google if people want to do like federated. Like you want to come in as whatever your Google account is or your Google name. I don't want to, I don't want anybody to say that I'm collecting emails or anything. I'm not trying to get a hold of anybody's email. I don't even want to email people stuff, right? So like, I would only do that if it was the easiest way to do it. But no, I don't have any like outside auth like that people can use to get access. Right? Authentication is like proving they are who they say they are. That kind of stuff. All right. Oh, guys, I'm going to take a real quick break here. I'm going to go wander around for a few minutes. But yeah, think about these topics here. If you got any questions about them, let me put up my little hourglass. I meant to take a break right about 2 hours. Yeah, we're right about 2 hours. So put our little hourglass on and we'll say, take a break. Think about package management. 8 minutes. All right, I'll be back. You guys think about that stuff. Think about the new year. Robodom, keep everybody in line. I appreciate you linking that stuff. Robodom, you said you assembled a turkey sandwich. Nice. Alright guys, I'll be back. I'm still wandering around. Runmucker, that sounds pretty interesting. Getting Argo CD to work with Helm. And yeah, if you don't terminate SSL at ingress, do you terminate it at some kind of like earlier point? Yeah, I was talking about that earlier a little bit about like a web application firewall terminating. Because sometimes we do that so that you can offload. You don't want all the processing done on your load balancer sometimes, or on your devices, and you just let the web application firewall handle the security, which is the actual TLS connection, and then you don't worry about it in between. So, okay, I'll be back. Oh, no, Nginx is fine for most of that stuff. And Nginx might be really good for a lot of that stuff. Did I say fine for my sister? I said fine for that stuff. My closed captioning. You know what's funny about that? I don't even have a sister. I have 4 brothers. Nginx for my sister. What the heck's that freaking closed captioning trying to do? I look down and catch it sometimes, just saying the most ridiculous stuff that's nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I don't have a sister, guys. Alright. We'll keep looking at these here in a second. Autocorrect. Yeah. It's autocorrect down here. Alright, we'll finish this little talk up here in a second. Yeah. Freaking PowerPoint. Won't even let me swear. And thanks Stupid Twitch for following. That's really funny. And Sir Number One. That's awesome. That's a great name. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. We're working on just looking at the Linux Systems Administration talks that we did for the last 4 months or so. People worked through this as like a big group project. I think people had a lot of good stuff. Robodom, I'm going to start off with, so the question was, what are my plans for 2025? I'm going to start with heading out to Ohio for a little bit to work on a customer's 3 supercomputers for a customer of ours. I'm going to be in a skiff, so that'll be fun. I've never been in the type of skiff that I'm going to be in, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I've been in a lot of skiffs in my time, but not in this type. So I'm interested to see what it'll look like. What else do I have? Yeah. E. Brown over on YouTube said, will this course help prepare for the RHCSA? I wouldn't say directly. I would say the most important thing to do to get ready for your RHCSA would be to study those exact bullet points for the RHCSA, which I think I actually grabbed the other day. This is actually them right here. I grabbed this because somebody else asked me about it. Or is this? No, this was the Linux Foundation one. I take it back, but it was very similar to this. Somebody asked me about, hey, what would you study for that? I said, well, I would go study the objectives, and then I kind of showed that. So that's where I would go. I wouldn't focus on our course. This is more like any of those technical or even hands-on certs are great, but they are, hands-on, and they are kind of more like our lab environment type stuff. This is more like, this course was more rubber meets the road as you go to do the work in the industry, not just how you update, not just doing a DNF update, that's how you update, but why do we update, and when do we update, and what's the purpose of how it kind of interacts with being an engineer and working for a company trying to keep their systems up. Corey over on YouTube, how's it going? We're not working too hard. We're just kind of hanging out. And don't worry about how that thing spelled your name. Closed captioning does whatever it wants. Okay, so how do we update? Obviously, we just do a DNF update. But what if we were like really trying to make sure? Well, let's do a DNF update. What if we were really trying to ensure that in our environment nobody ever updated Python 3, right? So see, right now Python 3 is in the chute to get installed to our system. There's things coming from the base OS and AppStream, and there's all these things that want to be updated as probably dependencies to updating Python 3. Well, I could go like this. I can say, no, I don't want to update that. And I could VI my etsy yum.conf, which is actually, let me show you something. That is actually just a pointer over to Etsy. So I could VI Etsy dnf.conf, right? And in here, I can say exclude equals Python 3. And I could say, you know what, not only Python 3, but anything like Python 3. So anything after Python 3 with like a sys level, what we call a FN filter, right? And I'll do WQ. And then now I do my DNF update, and my system will not see let's just do allow erasing and let's see what it says. Skip broken. It's actually really funny. Because DNF and yum, that's funny. Because we're excluding Python 3 from the updates, it's not even going to be able to do it anymore, right? That's super funny. By excluding those, it wasn't even going to allow us to update it. People 2.7, yeah. Is 2.7 still kicking it somewhere? I know 2.7's still kicking it on some AWX and Ansible tower type systems, because you can still run them as the separate environment, but just brutal. It's actually funny that broke everything. Let's do it the way I normally do it. We'll just we'll exclude the kernel. So now the kernel is no longer going to be able to update on our system. So earlier when we were looking at this, and you could see the kernel stuff down here, and you could see up at the top. That's annoying. Oh, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I had that hashed out. Because I normally, okay, I'm conflating all my things in my head. When we were talking about it, I was showing people before how I would hash it out, how I would pull it out when I didn't want to use it, and I use Ansible. Anyways, all right, my bad. Gosh, I wonder if, oh, that's funny. Yeah, so now if we go look up here, it no longer has those two kernel things that it wants to install. In fact, it's not doing any kernel updates. So that's an interesting thing to know, and we can update only certain things. I can only update unzip if I want, right? And it'll tell me about that package before I ever update it. I'm not going to update it, but I can also do a DNF search all for unzip, and I can see things related. Oops. Oh, is it search all? I don't know. Maybe I thought it was search all, but maybe they don't have that in. Maybe DNF removed. Huh. Because you used to be able to do yum search all, and the search versus search all would just depend on where it would go look. But the point is, here's unzip, but then there's other activities that are similar to it, and maybe either use it or are part of it, right? So there's all kinds of different ways to look at this stuff. But okay, so then if I want to know all of my maybe repos in here, I could probably just do something like this. If I did like a head on Rocky.repo and I saw, I might need like a head -20 to see enough of it. All right, and then I say, okay, well, I can just get the names and maybe I could really just do names. I could say grep -I name from everything in here, and those would be all of the names out here, all the names that I care about. Boom. Corey said you'll take it. So far you've done 3 Linux Plus, Security Plus, and Windows Server install and storage 2016, which have opportunity to take a year ago. Nice. Yeah, all of those are useful. Corey, we had actually Robodom just got his Security Plus this year, so that's good. You guys should. I tell you guys often, like, get together and think about this stuff, work on this stuff. We have a standing thing that goes until the end of tonight. I wonder who else is going to finish it. We only have one person so far. But if you go finish you guys could go do this right now. There's a thing here for Chaos Engineering. It's free from Gremlin. And if you go take that cert, you could probably pass it by the end of the day if you wanted to. I will do something for you guys in our meeting this week. So yeah, Minister of Flower went and passed it. He got 100% on it, which I'm pretty sure it's open book, so you guys can study. I want to say I got like a 90% on it or something. I didn't knock it out of the park or anything, but Gremlin is part of your site reliability engineering. So I'll do something for Minister of Flower. I thought somebody else. Yeah, Treasure did it as well a few months ago. But if any of you guys are wanting to go take that just to bolster up your resume a little bit, I would definitely do that. Oh, here's that thing. Somebody asked earlier about the Red Hat cert. This is what I would go study for Red Hat. Here's all the exam objectives right here. Anybody need this? Who was that talking about that earlier? E. Brown. This is what I would would study for my RHCSA if you're still around. These little guys right here. Those tasty boys. All right. So where are software packages stored? So on your system, if you're installing things through your package manager, RPM keeps a database of all your packages. So you could say RPM QA and do like a word count -L, and you have approximately 664 packages on the system. And if you wanted to know, like maybe you saw a vulnerability about OpenSSH, right? And you wanted to know if OpenSSH that you had, so you saw that version 8 up through 8.6 is affected, and then you look at this, would you be able to confidently tell your security team or report this up that said, would you be able to say that your system was not affected by that CVSS or that, well, it's a CVE, it gets a CVSS score. Would you be able to say that your OpenSSH version 8.7 was not affected? That's really funny. It fixed the 8.7, but it didn't move it away from the 8-7 that was incorrect. I mean, I said it, but the closed captioning made it look terrible. Sladoid, you did your RHCSA a while back? Nice. I tell you guys all the time, even if you don't go take the cert, I think understanding and studying it's important. So what if your team comes to you and says, well, but when was this installed? Everybody else in the company's on 8.6 still, and we need to update all those. Why is this one server on 8.7? And you go, oh, I don't know. Or you learn how to use your tool, and you look at the individual package, and now I know that this was installed on this system on Sunday, November 3rd at 2024, or in 2024. Sunday, November 3rd at 6:40, probably when I was streaming with you guys. So look at all these things that we can kind of dig in on. Look at all these things that we can understand when it was built by somebody. Before it got built and pushed up to its package, its location in the repository, here's how it was built. It was built on some package build host, so we can see all that. Corey, one question. What do we really need to get an entry-level Linux system admin role? All right, at the simplest way I can answer that is you need to be able to convince somebody or some company that you are capable of keeping their systems running. That is the easiest way I can put it. Then from there, you say, well, what do we mean by running? Well, we mean uptime and operational, right? Okay, what do we mean by uptime and operational? Operational is it's doing the things for the customer that we expect to all the times that it needs to, right? Okay, how do we do that? Well, we make sure that the server is operating within its CPU, memory, disk, and network limits. We make sure that the system is secure from a perspective of who can log into it and who can connect to it, so that only the workloads that are supposed to be there are being run on it. And then we just keep running down the steps. But the most important thing, I think, to get entry level into a sysadmin role is to prove to somebody that you can do the work. And the work is all the things that I've been showing here. We're on week 7 of our 16-week course. The overall things that I had put in the course are this. I would say that if you wanted to prove to me that you were ready to do Linux administration for a company, and I've told you guys, I've been a tech lead in the Linux space for about the last 10 years, right? I would need to make sure that you understood how to get into a Linux system, how to move stuff around, how storage works, how to keep the systems running, and how to do like PS-EF and all that kind of stuff, how to manage users and help your users out, how to manage your firewall. We're up in package management, patch our servers and keep them secure. Then scripting. These are good to know, but not necessary right here, these ones. But they're the way modern systems are going, so I think they're valuable to know. Monitoring systems, we dug heavily into this, knowing how to track what's going on. Then we did some baselining and benchmarking, hardening, automation, troubleshooting, and actual incident response. These are the things that I think if you know well, this is why this was our 16-week course, if you know these things well, I think that would prove to somebody that you could do the work, and then they would give you the job, or at least give you a shot. You might not be the lead the first day, right? I don't expect to be the police captain the day I step on the force. I expect to just get in here and start doing this stuff, right? Like I expect to be in here doing the basic tasks and knocking out work from trouble tickets and getting systems back operational, right? That's what I would tell you, Corey, because Corey said one question, what do we really need to get an entry-level Linux sysadmin role? I think you need to be able to get your hands on the keyboard and then explain the concept if somebody asks. Yeah. Well, Corey, that's good. I would say then make sure that you have that in a way that you can show somebody, because as a good old boss of mine once said, he was really good at the management side of things. He was good on the Unix side of things too. But he used to say, this is what he used to say. He'd say, Scott, there's 2 things I want to know in an interview. Can the person do the work? And will they do the work? Yeah, Corey, I'm probably going to do, so we're all done with this, right? This is all, I've recorded all these sessions are all there for people that want to go through this and all that stuff. In the next few months down in our Discord, I've talked to like Sending Grounds and some of the other guys. We might do some like mock interviews for you guys that want to come in and have us actually do, and we'll do it. We won't do it in front of everybody unless you want to. We'll do it down like in like a channel where we only have like 3 or 4 of us in there, and we'll talk through like what a real interview might look like. And if you guys have never done one, it can be kind of eye-opening, like the types of questions we ask. If you have it on your resume, it is fair game for me to ask you about it, guys. That's always true. If you tell me you're dangerously good at Python, and I ask you about, okay, can you show me how to pull the keys out of a CSV file, I expect you to be able to be dangerously good at doing that. Can you show me how all the keys, from a CSV file? key value pairs. It's a dictionary. It's a list. It's whatever. All right. It said ACSB. I said ACSV. Comma separated value. Man, my closed... I definitely have some kind of speech impediment, but my my closed captioning here definitely likes to tell me about it. Definitely that tells me I need to work on it. All right. So then we talked about what are repos. They're a place that your system trusts to allow package managers to install software from. So if we go back here and we were to look at any one of these, so we bang head and we look at the system, the GPG key file that my system trusts for this repository is right here. There's my key file that my system is going to, anything it tries to download from any of these mirrors that it might find here. Because so the way, let me step back to something that maybe some of you will never see, but just to tell you guys about how this works. What used to happen is somebody would build their software and they would get it nice and they would say, this is cool. I'm going to distribute it to a bunch of different mirror sites all over the world. And then when you would go to download the software, you would download it from Cairo, or you would download it from the University of Arizona or ASU. Whoever was closest to you that was hosting that software, right? But how do you know that somebody didn't just get the source code, add some other stuff in there that just sent data back to them, and then recompile it and call it the exact same name? How do you know somebody didn't do that? How would you know that, guys? Like, if you think about it, how would you know that? Because if you never thought about this, this is kind of important to know. This is why GPG keys are so important. This key right here was loaded in this operating system when it was built. I can also go download new versions of that key whenever I want from, in this case, Rocky, but from Red Hat, if it's Red Hat, and I can always have a trusted out-of-band version directly from them of the key. And then, when I go and I look at their software is going to have a key signed with their version of the private PGP key, right? And then I'm going to test that against the public version that I have of the key, which everybody has if they want. And it is going to be cryptographically similar in that it will show me that it has not changed. If I get anything other than the exact value that I expect out of this package, the software that I pulled down, if I get anything else out of that, that means it wasn't signed correctly by their private key and I don't trust it. And you say, well, what if a bit just flipped and transferred? I don't care. Don't want it. It would be no good. So then we would have to go trust somebody else, right? Corey said, I'm creating projects with Ansible, Docker, and thinking about more tech for my GitHub resume. Yeah, Corey, you can, I think you just have to obviously keep putting your resume out there. This is one thing I'm not as good at showing you guys, if we're being honest. I help a lot of college students and I try to show them what I think is good, but I can't show you guys, like, this is what my resume looks like, right? This is my het generic resume for you guys, and it's a page. I keep my resume under a page. Run amok, or wait, what do you mean? I said old server boards? I don't know if I said something with old server boards. Oh, I don't know what that is. Anyways, this is my... I've lost the thread, whatever that was. I'm easily lost. Oh, like only a bit... Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, the old RAM. Yeah, it was actually designed to keep that from being an unimportant thing. On your resume, guys, I would lead with things that you think are interesting and things that you think are relevant to the position. You should change this for the role you're going for. Maybe you're looking for some Linux roles that are straight Linux. Maybe you're looking for some Kubernetes roles. Maybe you're like, that looks like an interesting role doing back-end storage. Okay, so maybe you focus on some of those different things in here. And maybe you even change your infrastructure experience to feed that thing. I've told you guys this. I have built a lot of my career on automation. Automating the exact same servers to come out. Building and fixing the exact same sets of nodes the exact same way over and over again. And that's something that I've kind of been good at, right? So that's kind of what I have in here. Patching and updating and deploying things and keeping servers, and I try to make things number based. I try to show discrete things that I've done. And then at the end, I put my education, because I don't think education's as important in this field as what you can do. Somebody doesn't look at me and go, Scott's got a bunch of degrees, I'm hiring him. No. What they look at is, does the guy have the qualifications up here to do the things I want him to, and or is he not focused on the things that he wants? I think I told you guys, I had put in for, I didn't put in for it, I was put in for it by my company. I was leaving a project in June, and they were going to put me on this NASA project. And the NASA project is led by one of the guys on my team, one of the guys who I currently work with on a project for my company. He's the team lead, so due to the rules of this little NASA project, he can't sit in on the interview. And the 4 people and the manager that they put in there with me, I thought I did fine on the interview. I thought I talked to them. I thought I talked about all the stuff they might want to know, and they came back with, we don't think the guy's senior. And I thought, oh wow, that's okay, well, and I went about my day. And then the funny thing was, this is funny to me anyways, a few weeks ago, well, first off, when Chris found out about this, he told them, he's like, you guys are fucking retarded. He told them that. He's like, you guys, because he's the lead over there, he said, I can't believe you guys passed on Scott. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. A few weeks back, he said, yeah, we can't get this thing working. And I said, oh, that, I have some notes on that from a different project. I didn't even think that was that interesting. Here's how you do it. And he goes, this is going to solve this problem for him. And I said, make sure that you tell them that they got it from me. And it was notes that I didn't even care about. I didn't even care. I didn't even think it was that interesting. It was just something that was part of the notes that I had. I actually wrote a story about it in my complaints department here. Hold on. It wasn't even that interesting to me. I was like, what the hell? These guys don't think... Anyways, that's why I did this. You guys can go read about it if you want. It's only from a few weeks ago. Where is it at? It's right here. Yeah, about... What was it? You know what? What was it? I got to think about what it was. Anyways, they didn't think I was senior, but anyway, I did this. You know how easy this is for me? Do you have any fucking idea how easy this is? Anyways, that was I wasn't like, I'm not so mad about it, but it is funny to me that they had to come to me for help. But anyways, doesn't matter. All right. Where was I? You can enable, disable them. You can force GPG. By the way, that GPG key, if I want to bypass, if I'm like, guys, we just need to download this, we can bypass that GPG check. There's almost no reason that I can think of to do this. It's just important to know that you could. It's like people who like disable, I don't know, they disable their traction control on their cars because they're like, well, it lets me spin the back end out. And I'm like, yeah, but it lets you spin the back end out when you got the family in there too, So anyways, it's this idea that it's like, well, I mean, you better have a good reason for turning it off, right? So anyways, all right. What are the repos? You can enable or disable them. That's all there. All right, so what's semantic versioning? You have a major, a minor, and a patch version. Oh, E. Brown said, how long will it take all the courses if you're starting from the beginning? If you were to start, I'd say it's about 6 to 8 hours per week, and we have 16 weeks. So, I don't know, probably somewhere around 140 hours if I had to guess of work. So it's a lot of work to do all the stuff that's in there. I don't expect many people to fix or to solve that. Not solve it. I just don't expect a lot of people to go through that anymore. Like I think people will poke around at it and look up stuff that's interesting to them, but I doubt there'll be that many people that finish it later. I'm not saying you couldn't. I highly advise going and spending time with some of the work that the different people did as they went through it, because there was some really good work done. In fact, one of the guys, when he gives me permission, I'll post his notes up. One of our guys did a fantastic set of blog posts that basically are the whole thing solutioned. And I don't have his permission to post it, so I won't. But when he's ready and he wants to present on it or something, we will. I will post it up, and you guys will see a super clean, just everything for that whole course. Everything. So, but I would tell you guys, do stuff that's interesting. Find a way to prove to people that you know how to do this stuff. That's my thoughts on getting the job. The last 8 times or so I've even sat for an interview were because people I know sought me out. Even on that case, it was just that Chris couldn't sit in the interview. Otherwise, he would have told them that they were. I also thought there was some language stuff that, not to get into it too much, but one of the guys asked me a question and I answered it, and then I discussed it a little bit, like I talked about it. And then he, it was interesting. At the end, he goes, "Oh, I was just looking for this," which was like a specific command, and it was the first thing I said. And I'm like, does that guy not understand like what I said, or does he not understand the language I was using? I don't know. And then I saw a message for a second that said like a course or a book. I would just tell you guys to spend time in here. The best place is free on Killer Coda. I would come in here and I would go to killercoda.com. Best free site on the web right there for getting your hands on this stuff. You want to learn Ansible? I'm the guy that's teaching people Ansible out there. I got more more stuff to add and get you guys doing over there. So, all right. You got to understand semantic versioning even if you're not a software engineer. Software engineers need to know that well. But for guys like me, like I'm just some dude that does Linux servers, right? But the longer I've done Linux servers, the more you kind of float up towards like this DevOps role. The longer you do this stuff, the more it looks like this. Here, let me pull up this. Hold on. See if I can pull up this in our Linux group. Presentations. Let me see if I can find this one talk I did. This was a talk that I did a while back, and it was about moving to automation. And just the one thing I wanted to show you guys was this. Was like back in the day, operations team, my team doing all the low-level Linux and stuff. We were sitting over here and you couldn't we didn't talk well with like the developers, and if we did, it was typically like formal meetings, and we would get their requirements and build them into a new set of server packages or whatever we were going to do, and we would have X amount of days or weeks to do it. And it's just like nowadays we're all like this, we're all like working together, and there's a blurred line between what is operations, because the dev team can just deploy their stuff in Beanstalk, Elastic Beanstalk up in AWS, right? They can do a tremendous amount of stuff without us, but typically we're still the ones putting the guardrails on what they're able to deploy. So we still need to understand these kind of things. Chef, there's a guy named Kim Woostekamp who built Killer Coda. He's the guy who runs Killer Shell, and Killer Shell is all of the, like if you ever go and buy a Linux Plus, or sorry, an LFCS or a CKA or CKAD cert, you get a couple of these free, with the cert, you get a couple of these free environments in Killer Shell, and then you could actually do the environments again later if you wanted to. I think they're like $8 for 2 more runs through them. Well, they're 8L, which I don't know, might be like $12 or something. I don't know. Whatever the pounds, right? Isn't that pounds? I don't know. What's the British pounds look like? What's that symbol? Anyways, I think they're in pounds. But look here, we can just go Killer killer.sh. Right, he runs this. So this is his site on the other side, and they've got the simulators, and you can go, and then look, it's like you can go and pay for them, or you can do the free ones. So here's the CKA, and then this one just drops you in. I think it's interesting that they have it also on the Killer SH side, because that's Killer Shell side, but they have it over on Killer Code as well. Those are the same environments. So hopefully that answers the question. All right, let's get out of there. That's too much of that stuff. All right. So you need to know about your major, your minor, and your patch versions. These are not always true, but these tend to be the definitions that a lot of people use. Okay. You will see the major, minor, patch versions, and then there's this other version over here on the operating side called oh, I don't remember what these are, but they'll keep walking these. There's some incrementer for these in operating systems, and I forget what it's called right off. You can look it up if you want, but that's semantic versioning. All right. And then I say, what can you learn from this? Well, I can see when my kernel was built. I can see when it was installed on this system. I can see a whole bunch of stuff about what's going on, so that's kind of important. Here's kind of an idea of the server update cycle. Real quick, I want to show you guys. You can always do, on your system, DNF history or YUM history if you're on an older system, and you can see when the last thing was installed on the system. This system had what the heck's the fast fetch? I don't remember doing that. Maybe I did. Maybe I was installing some of these other things, and shoot, I don't even remember. Huh. Maybe I did that earlier. I don't know. Anyways, here's an example maybe of a server software update cycle. It doesn't have to be this way. This is just a way to do it. Maybe you download the software repos to your internal controlled repos, and then you test down into the dev environment. If issues are found, then you come back up and maybe you wait. And then from test, you do a QA environment. And if issues are found, you'll go up and wait. And then when QA environment is good, we push it to prod. And this can take weeks and weeks over here to go through. And sometimes this whole function happens within a month. So you say, wait a minute, so am I doing patching for the whole month? Yes. But you're patching different environments of servers as you push it forward through the different environments. Anybody wonder how I made that? Because this is my drawing. You just want to see a cool little... There's a tool here. This is one of my favorite things to show people. That's why I'm showing it to you. Come over here, and you go to Excalidraw. So we go to Excalidraw. Yep, Excalidraw. And, you know, I gave these notes about the 5 whys of troubleshooting. But then over here I say, I want to give some text here, and I want to explain some process to people. I want to go to, let's go look at something real quick. There's an Ubuntu new 5-step remediation of vulnerabilities. There's this new, they're talking about, where's Ubuntu? They've got this new little 5-step kind of CVE thing that they've been selling. Maybe it's over here on Ubuntu.com. Let's see. See if I just want to see if they have a good explanation. No. Where's that at? I know they were just... I just saw a thing pop up on my... somewhere the other day. They had their little CVE. Maybe it's too new to really be indexed yet. Anyways, let's come over here. And let's describe, let's say, repos get downloaded to from vendors, let's say, to a local repository. From there, they are pushed to, let's say they're pushed to dev for 2 weeks, then to QA for a week, and then to production servers. There are tests run at each environment before validation, and then moving patching to the next environment. Let's just see if we just type that in, what happens. What kind of generation is this going to do for us? I'll just insert it in here and go look at it. Vendors, we download repos to our local stuff. Then we push repos down into development environment. We work for 2 weeks. Validation failed. We don't come up. But if it does work for 2 weeks, then we go down into the test and dev environment. Then validation successful goes to the QA environment. And then it works. Yeah, maybe. Validation successful, we go to production servers. There's a final test. If validation failed, it goes back here. And then if validation successful, deployment is complete. I could at least work with that. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's something to start with. So if you guys have never seen it, Excalidraw is a really excellent tool for, and they give you, I think you could do like 10 of these a day. Yeah, so we got 9 left. But you can come in here and you can just build things and just mess with stuff and see how, see how interesting some of the things you want to write up are. Now you can also use Mermaid if you for sure want a certain type of thing to look a certain type of way. Here you go. Computer connects to internet, hosts web servers, displays the web page, which contains Grafana, which fetches data from a data source and then gets an update. I think it's actually one that we did. I think it remembers ones that we've done before. But anyways, I think that's super useful. And I've probably done 10 professional drawings with that, and then I just tweak them down to what I want. It's not terrible. That's not, like, I look at that and I'm like, that's not logically that wrong. It wasn't logically wrong enough for me to change it. I could probably make that look a little cleaner, but actually sometimes I think I'm gonna make something look clean and then it doesn't work right for me, so I think that's just fine. All right, lab test this week. RPM to query your package information. We did that. DNF repos, DNF installing software, excluding software from updates. How do we do that? And then our software dependencies, searching for software and package groups. By the way, reboot. Just kill that box off, let him reboot. We've been abusing that poor server. So we need to update him so that he's back to a chill little mode there. That was week 7. Let's go to week 8. Or unit 8 as we were calling them. We had over 200 and I saw largest, bless you. The largest number I saw was 208, but then it got wiped right around here. So we talked about software versioning, installing software and verifying it's approved to be on the system, and then software package groups and how they affect the baseline. So if you come back over here and you go look in our ProLUG projects here, and then you scroll down just to unit 8, here's those discussions. And this one was one of my more favorite questions. Unit 8, discussion 1. It's 2-week holiday in your country. That's how some people say it. We tend to say vacation here, but there's 2-week holiday, and most of the engineers and architects who design the system are out of town. You've noticed a pattern of logs filling on a set of web servers from increased traffic. Your research shows, and then you verify that the logs are being sent off real-time to Splunk, so it doesn't matter if they stay on the server or not. Your team has just been deleting the logs every few days, but one of the third shift engineers didn't read the notes and your team suffered downtime. So it filled up, crashed, took your systems with it. Now there's all your tasty uptime and there's all your bonuses going down the drain. So how might you implement a simple fix, like a stopgap to the problem before all the engineering resources come back in and you guys figure out, hey, let's expand this space, or hey, let's do something else? I said, what resources did you use? Why can't you just make a design fix and just add space? Why can't you just add space? You know how. You have the permissions. Why don't you just add space? Why can't you make a design change and log rotate? Why not just do that? We know we need it. Why not just do it? And I said, for 2 and 3, if you are okay with them, explain why. I'm not saying it's wrong to change them. I'm just saying, would you give pause before you change these and wait for the people who designed it to come back? Or would you just make the change? Then over here on the messages, people walked through and answered a bunch of the different stuff, right? So there's a whole bunch of good answers, I think, for that. Talk about installing software and verifying it is approved to be put on a system. How do we keep track of all the software that's on a system? How do we know what software probably shouldn't be on a system anymore? How do we know software has been obsoleted, isn't being supported anymore? Sometimes that's a government, there's government requirements before you put anything out on a Linux box. It's got to be supported in some way. That's an actual government requirement. So we keep coming down, work on your project, do all that stuff. This week then was script cleanup of a common occurring incident. So that's the one we were just looking at. And then I make you review old code and modernize it. One of your engineers, I ask you about reviewing his old code. Rather, I don't actually make you modernize it there, but I just ask you about what you would do, you know, mainly because I want you to think about it before you have to go actually do it. I want you to understand what you would go do. All right. Topics of discussion: flow of a program, variables, decisions, flow from logic, truth tables, and interpreted versus compiled programs. What are the differences in these things? Because you do need to know these on the Linux side of things. All right, whoops. Flow of a program. All scripted languages flow from top to bottom. They execute sequentially until there is no work to be done. The only way to affect that flow is with decisions, loops, and functions. Other than that, that thing will sit, it will start at the top, and it will flow all the way down through until it's done. That's good enough to start with. Decisions alter the court or select or are forced into different paths. Then the loops can iterate or test conditions. They can count over items and iterate or test conditions. And then functions are blocks that only execute when called. So you could have a function that's defined, and it could be 50,000 lines in a script. But if it doesn't get called because nothing ever alerts it or anything causes it to happen, then it doesn't execute, right? So these are the kind of things that you guys can think about, all right? So that's the flow of the program. Truth tables. Binary logic is and or typically. And when we think about truth tables, most of you probably understand this. Just, I tell people all the time, if you didn't understand this, I don't think you could have driven to the school. You know, like I used to tell my college students, you would have crashed on the road. But this left one is and for this to be true and this to be true, then we get true to come out. However, if this is true and this answer is false, then this is false. If this is true and this is false, this is false. So in a and logic, only when both output or inputs are true do we get a true output. Whereas with or, as long as one of them is true, they are true. So to explain this to you, if you want to think about it a little bit more, is it goes like this. If I tell you I went to the store and I went to the park, and you find out that both of those are true, did I tell you the truth? Yes. But if I tell you I went to the store and I went to the park and I never went to the park, am I lying to you? Yes, because I said and. I have to do both things for that thing to evaluate to true. But if over here I said I went to the store or I went to the park, that would still be true because I did one, but I didn't do the other, but I still did the one. So logically, that still evaluates to true. That's a real weird way to talk to somebody. I went to the store false, I went to the park true, but it's true. Now, if I lie about both of them, it's still a lie. But or allows more, or is more inclusive, and is very much an exclusive function. The more ands you add, the more you limit the output of something coming out of a function. The more ors you add, the less you limit things. As you and your parents talk to each other about. They start asking you the hard questions. Parents, man. Parents just are what they are. They're parents. All right. Lab test this week. I said to install a compiler. Compile a basic program in C. That's what you guys do this week. Get inputs and put in a variable. read variables, make decisions by testing values of variables, loop while counting conditional loops, and then write a working script. So those are the quick things you did for Unit 8. It's funny that I had you guys install a compiler because I don't normally leave compilers sitting around. Compilers are only on systems that need to be able to compile stuff. So anymore nowadays we tend to compile and then have a like a work artifact, like software artifact that can then just be put on a server of like kind and it'll work. Right, some executable, some whatever type of executable it is. I think that one I made you guys use C. Simplest little C compiled program we could make, right? And then you guys dug into that. Man, we're going on 3 hours. Can't believe it. It's the end of the year. We're just kind of reviewing stuff, and look how long it's taking me just to review this stuff, let alone people going through and actually doing it. I tell you guys, this stuff, this would be a lot. This would be a lot to go through and start right now. I think it would be a lot of hours of work. But I do think it would be very valuable to people that want to get into the field. At least that's my thoughts on it. All right. So, questions, just message me. All that kind of stuff. All right, what are we doing here? You guys got Sladoid. I'd like to give it a shot. It would be a really good overview of everything I need for my exam. Yes, Sladoid, you're welcome to do it. In fact, I think they're talking about projects right now down in Discord. I'd be willing to bet that these guys are talking about projects right now. All right. Anyways, go down in there if you guys want and work on this stuff. There is a project for people that were like looking for ways to show how they were ready to do this stuff. I do have a project. Let's see if I can pull it up here. The project is really whatever you wanted to make of it, but go find something about systems that you want to work on. Stability, performance, security, monitoring, Kubernetes, programming, automation, right? I mean, something that interests you, right? I can't dictate what's interesting to you. You can come to me and say, hey, Scott, how do I get better at Linux? And I'd be like, you really just got to get down in Linux and do it. And then you say, okay, well, good, that's done. What else? How do I get more interested? And I'd be like, I honestly don't even know what you want to do, man. Everybody seems to want to be a site reliability engineer, an SRE guy. Everybody seems to want to be better at like monitoring and keeping the systems up. So I would say, focus on that. People like that. So then down here, you had to find something and implement it, build a project of some type. Sladoid, you said you'll end up in .NET and C#. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So plan it, document it, diagram it, build it, finalize your documentation by making it better, and then prepare to present it to us, to the group. You're going to present to the group all the things that you know of and all the things that you've done, or whatever. All right. And I say, do any of you want to present? You guys can come and present to the group. And then here's the deliverables. Build a project that works in either the ProLUG labs or in the Killer Code environment. Diagram what you built, physical or logical or both. Then show the system running and proof that you've built it and show it in a running state with the documentation. And then do the slide presentation. And as you do the presentation, show us, it's definitely voluntary, but if you could show it to us in 10 minutes, you could show it to somebody else and people say, well, how good should this look? I say it should look good enough to show a company you want to work for. Or let's say you don't want to work for anybody. You want to be a consultant. Well, I think if you're a consultant, you work for everybody, but that's neither here nor there. I think if you're a consultant, you look at this and you go, well, I want it to be good enough that it helps land me a job because somebody knows that I know how to do this monitoring solution. One of our guys was putting together a really good monitoring solution the other day. And I was like, that's something that'd be valuable for a company. You automate all the deployments, you have your node exporter go out, and then you have your Prometheus find everything, and it's bada bing, bada boom, everything's done. You look like a hero, they pay you a whole bunch, you go on to the next project, right? I think it's perfectly acceptable. I think it's probably even good engineering to be able to do that. So there we go. All right, let me check a couple things here real quick. All right, so that's the project for people that want to do the project. Project is one of the requirements. You got to have that done by the January 19th for people that want to get the certification. Okay, what's the next one? Unit 9? What was Unit 9 about? I don't even remember anymore. Unit was, so we started getting into containerization, and then we brought in some guest speakers on containerization. But thinking about containerization, developer was having a problem with their container. This one, I really enjoyed writing this one, and then I feel like it was kind of funny. People had the right answer really quickly, so I hope people didn't. I mean, I guess they could cheat however they wanted, but I wanted to see if people could get this one. I thought this one was really fun. So Unit 9, it's a slow day in the knock, and you heard that containers are coming, so you wanted to know more about Dockers, containers, and Podman. Boom. But then this one was, there was a, I made this into an image for simplicity's sake for people, but you get your first ticket about a problem with containers. One of the engineers is trying to move his container up to the dev environment shared server. He sends you this information about the command he's trying to run. So, you know, he gives you a Podman PS, he gives you a Podman images, and then you check the server and do an ss-ntulp, and you get these things, right? And these are the outputs. This is what the server's telling you. Lord Processor said, "What are the requirements to complete to earn the certificate?" Well, we're gonna do a nice little certificate for anybody who finishes the thing. Oh, hold on a second here, real quick, guys. Sorry, I gotta fix these. Gotta fix that, and it's back. Okay. I noticed that my closed captioning wasn't working. Okay, so the requirements to get the certificate will be as follows. You would have done all the worksheets, which is 16 weeks. I think there's like 2 weeks with no worksheets, so like 14 worksheets. You would have done every discussion and a response to people. So that would be a lot of going back and discussing and responding to people for 16 weeks worth. I don't have a discussion for this week, so that was a little light. You would have done all, I want to say there's like 13 labs of the 16 weeks, and then you would do the project. So it's an undertaking, guys. It would be, again, like over 140 hours of work, I would think, right now. So I'm not trying to tell anybody not to do it. I'm just trying to tell you guys you'd really have to start now, because you got 19 days. It's the next 19 days, because I'm closing it on January 19th. That's going to be the last of the people. The last of the stuff. And then, you know, people were asking like, hey, what level should I build some of this stuff to? You should do it at a level that you would be comfortable showing some company or person you want to work for. Yeah, Robodomp, for me, it's done, right? I'm done. I worked, like, I don't want to sit around and complain, but like, guys, this was a significant amount of work to put this all together and to make sure that it mostly worked all the time. Because like the labs, there were a few little proclivities in the labs, and there were a few documents that I put out that were a little messed up. But for the most part, this was a lot of work. Like, I wouldn't say that I did eight hours of work, but I did probably about 3 to 4 each week getting ready for it. Yeah. So anyway, so this one is, the developer gives you all this, and then you say, what do you think his problem might be, and how do you think, let me see if I can, hold on, let me open this in a browser and make this bigger for you guys, sorry. So this is the question here. The user has come to you, and he's given you this, developer at dev server read, and he gives you a Podman PS and nothing's running. Then he gives you Podman images. So here's the images that he's got. And then he's running this command, podman run -dt on port 8080 TCP. So 8080 mapped to port 80. And he's running Docker IO library HTTP. Right, so he's doing this. And then it says you decide to check out the server, and you go look at the server and you see what's there. And then I said, what do you think the problem might be, and how will you test it? So you could just do his command and see the error. That would be a way to test it. And then the developer tells you that he's pulling a local image. Do you find this to be true, or is something else happening in their run command? So here's their run command. Are they pulling right here a local image, or is this something else that's not local? And that's something you probably have to have worked with Podman or Docker a little bit to know that. But if you don't see it here as a local image, this means he's pulling this from somewhere out in the world. He's going to docker.io library HTTPD, and he doesn't have a tag on it. He is pulling the latest version of whatever HTTPD is. He doesn't have some stable version. He doesn't have some tested version. That's for damn sure. He's pulling literally whatever the newest version is. It's a problem. It's not the problem. The problem is here. He's on port 8080. He's trying to map to port 8080 on a server that has a node exporter port already listening on port 8080. You can't bind to a port with Podman or Docker that's already in use by another service. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to, if you go write your own, you do it in Python, or you write your own little, there's all kinds of, it's super simple to bind to a port, right? It's like just some code you could probably get out of ChatGPT. You can bind to a port that's already in use, but you will have problems. So I would advise you not do that. Most software will not do that because it realizes the problems. So you can't bind to a port. You're going to just break shit if you do that. And you say bind. Bind is listen to, right? So now the process is listening to that, and it's getting traffic for the other, and you're just gonna have a bad day if you do that. But can you do that? Strictly speaking, you can do almost whatever you want in Linux. It's just not a good look. It's not good. It's not going to work well for you. It's not what we call a viable solution, right? All right. Anyways, we got to. Did we finish that one? We got into the topic of discussion, which is container Docker images, and then we got in here, and this comes directly from the Docker page. Container is a standard unit of software that packages up code and all of its dependencies. Boom. Now we know what it is. They give some other information about it. Its image is lightweight, it's standalone. We could do a whole bunch of them. Cool. Docker contains, so it's Docker containers that run on the Docker engine are standard, lightweight, and secure. These are things about them. I wouldn't say anything is inherently secure, but they are, by the purpose of being all packaged up, somewhat more secure than just some loosey-goosey web server running out there. Sure, fair enough. I'll be okay with that because of the isolation. I would agree that it's more secure by default and has the capability of being much more secure if you want it to be. That's a good way to put it, I think. And then you can sandbox these damn things down into their own little... You can make them really secure, right? And I have tools that have shown you guys on that. But, all right, containers. This is how containers work, right? You have an infrastructure and then a host OS, and then you've got your Docker or Containerd or Cryo or whatever is running the containerized apps. You build them by building out a Docker file, pulling down an image, and then running your Docker container. Then the lab tasks for this week are all the labs for, what is this, Unit 9? Let me show you guys what Unit 9 labs kind of look like. I made you guys drop into one of these servers. This was also the first one. Unit 9? It's the first one, I think, where... Yeah, I know it looks kind of bad because it's actually funny. That's all blue. But whatever, we're not going to get the internet into another argument. And I SSH over to Rocky 1, which should be nice and clean. We got a clean Rocky 1. And I can just start doing these commands. I could say which podman, right? Commands are over here on the left. I'm doing the warm-ups. I'm saying DNF what provides Podman, right? So how's Podman working in my environment? And so DNF will go and it'll have to update its repos since it's cleaned out from being a container that came up as a stateless node. So yeah, okay, it's got to go pull some metadata. Might take about 20 seconds. So I see where Podman's coming from in my system. Then I want to see if Podman's, we saw the Podman command is there. So I say rpm-qi Podman, and I see when Podman was installed. It was back on November 8th, which makes sense. It's about when it got installed in my container environment. Good. And I say, which version is it? Well, here's the version. Here's the release, right? It's for Enterprise Linux 9.4, which is Rocky 9.4 in this case. And I said, why might this be important to know? Well, let's say security starts looking around and they're looking for, vulnerabilities. That's what they're going to do. Yeah, bottleneck. The PDF itself is not black background. I'm using a tool called Sumatra. I love Sumatra, guys. This is it's a good way. And then when you go to, when you use Sumatra, you can open up, hold on. When you open up Sumatra in the settings and options, oh, where's it at? Maybe it's advanced options. This will open up as a notepad. And if you want to flip the colors, you just switch these two numbers right here. That's black and that's white, right? All ones is white, all zeros is black. You flip those and it'll invert your colors inside of a PDF. Now, it doesn't do well with pictures that look like this, because this picture is actually all blue, right? But since we inverted the colors of the background, it looks like that. So, but anyways, yeah, you can modify Sumatra. Sumatra is such a good little tool, like a good little reader, and I think that's spelling that right too. So it's like Sumatra. So yeah, you can use that if you want. All right. Oh, and then I said what version? Podman images, right? So then we look for images. Podman images, nothing. Podman PS, nothing. So I don't have Podman images downloaded, and I don't have any Podman images running. So no containers are running on the system. Sorry guys, I gotta drink some water. I got like real bad acid reflux right now. And then we get down here, and some of you might look at that and go, well, that's interesting. That's the same command that guy was using in our discussion. And I say, yes, it is the same command. I'm very sneaky. I wrote the command, and then I also made you go trip over it because it was busted. So now, can I, real quick, ss-ntulp, grep-i for, let's just do ss-ntulp. Is this system listening on port 8080 anywhere? No. In fact, Promtail is listening on 9080. And no, nothing else is problematic here. I should be able to just run this. Podman run -dt -p 8080 :80. So it's 8080 on the outside mapping of the server and 80 internally on the mapping with TCP into my docker.io library HTTPD. So this is library /HTTPD. So this is just a download of a web server. There's going to be basically a web server running here. We don't have it downloaded as an image, so now we get it. So remember we did Podman images earlier and Podman PS? When this is done, I would expect Podman images to show something, and I would expect Podman PS to also show something. And I should be able to curl 127.0.0.1 colon, oops, dot 0.1 colon 8080, and I should be able to see there is my running pod. Right, or sorry, it's not a pod until we get it up into Kubernetes. Down here, it's just a container, down here, right? And then I can go check, and I can see the new image, and I can see Podman, and then I can run it. I can see also that it's listening, right? And then now we can inspect the pod. So Podman inspect -L. Inspect. And we can look at what pods are running on the system. And this might be a little more than we want, but here is the path HTTP foreground, and I should be able to find some information about its ID and where it's running. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that I hope to God to never have to look at, but here's the image name. And it's got that latest appended to it, even though I really want to tie that back for security reasons. I really want to eventually start tying this back to a specific version. And you'll find that in your career to be something that helps you out a lot. In dev, we're running this. In prod, we're running this. If anything is ever not like that in prod, we got to figure out how the heck it got there, because we should only be looking at the repos that we've downloaded and validated those images. Sometimes we harden these images before we move them up into other environments. But we got to learn this basic stuff before we do all that. We can go look at the podman logs. So watch this, podman logs -L. I can see the logs, and I can see that successful connection, right? So watch this. I can go and I can do this curl here, and I could just say for I in, and then like let's say sequence of 1,000, right? Do curl that sleep 1 done, right? And this is gonna sit there and spin for a little bit. We can take it off. Watch, we can take the sleep off and just do it. Let's just see how long our system takes to do 1,000 curl requests, right? Bam. How long does it take a system to do 1,000 curl requests? If the race is on, we've got a little stopwatch that started at the beginning of this, and that's running. Don't worry, it's definitely running, right? But it's racing to 1,000. Took 12.5 seconds for my system to do it, right? Guys, look, this was super simple. What is this? But now watch this. Let's go look at those logs again. There's all the GET requests. Those are all the attempts of it coming in. And it came in from this weird, what the heck is that? What is this 10.88.0.1? That's weird. So then maybe I go to IP-BR ADDR, and I see, oh, hold on, I've got this Podman interface, which is part of like the network that's being used internally for that pod. And if I were to go into that pod, I would find that it had this IP address. We don't dig into any of that in this, but I just wanted you guys to see, like, you might be wondering why the heck isn't that coming off of a 192.168.200.51 address? That's weird, right? So, like, we're just, I don't know, we're just building all the stuff. We do some top, we look at what's going on, we look at Podman stopping, and then we can keep going. And then I show you how to build a little container if you want to. But this container actually breaks because these nodes are too small. So I didn't make you guys do too much more in the lab with this. It actually broke. I need to go back and fix this one because it kind of would be nicer to build that. Maybe I'll put this one up in our normal Linux labs. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let me leave that open, and that'll be part of our Linux labs that I go write. I think I have that here. Hold on. This was some environment stuff we were setting up the other day. Somebody asked me for a very specific lab. No, this was us setting up the labs, right? Setting up and building all the labs. Oh yeah, this was it. Okay. Put it up here. Say that, and then container lab to build out a basic. I have a 3-tier application where I make you guys do a much more involved and built up application, but container lab to build out a basic 3. No. Pod. Alright, I'll put that in my notes to do. Although I'm kind of lazy, so we don't always get around to doing it. Oh, well, let me see if I'm missing anything over on the YouTube side. So what do I think about MacBook for Linux Sysadmin learning DevOps? Leaning to DevOps. I've been thinking about it, or Lenovo. Corey, I don't think, you'll find that I'm not super beholden to any piece of hardware. I run a Dell desktop or a Dell laptop that I do all my work on. As long as I can get into a Linux box, I don't care. So I would say for you, as long as you have some persistent environment that you can get into. I don't think it matters how we get into like I don't think it matters how we get into a Linux environment where we get in off of, if that makes sense, Corey. Lord Processor said, do I have notes on Discord? Yeah, so all of those, like that whole lab thing that we were just looking at, I think I closed it. That lab is all up here in Discord. Yeah. You go to ProLUG projects, and then this was all the Unit 9 stuff right here. And I even have it in... I started putting them in PDF format for people because people want a PDF format. So then I started doing PDF sheets for people so that you didn't have to do... Because I know not everybody wants to use... Oh, I did it here too. Not everybody wants to use Word doc. So... And then I think I stopped using just the text. But yeah, all the notes, all these things that we do are up here. There's a worksheet and there's a PDF of the lab. This is the lab one we were doing. So it's Unit 9 Docker K3s. Yep. It's all there for anybody that wants to get in there. And then this is what we did. Podman images, run containers. These are all the things that when we're done with this that you'd be able to say that you knew how to do. Now, if you didn't feel very comfortable about it, you need to go probably spend some more time and practice. Maybe go from this and then go find yourself a nice use case online for how you would get some of these other things to work, and then build from there. All right, that was the lab tasks, and then I said, why do we care as an administrator? And this is the first time that I asked this in the labs. But it's because you might look at this and go, well, Podman's so far away from the Linux that we do. And I'd say, yes, but most people are not... Actually, I'm going to say nobody runs Linux strictly for the purpose of running Linux. Nobody does that. Even people that run Linux for the purpose of running Linux are doing it to build new versions of kernels and that kind of stuff. Nobody's just running Linux to be able to tell their buddies at the golf game on Saturday, we got up to 1,000 Linux servers over there, and then they put on like a new shiny badge or whatever. Doesn't matter. So we're responsible for installing the runtime environment. We need to make sure that we know how to test Docker, Podman, Cryo before we go tell the dev, hey, your system's good. So we need to know this stuff. We're responsible for troubleshooting the runtime environment. If something doesn't work and they need help, they're going to come to you. So you need to understand these tools that they're using. And you go, man, that's like a step. That's like me being the sheetrock guy, and I need to know how the electrician's tools work. And I say, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you kind of do if maybe he's going to have to rerun a line and punch a hole through your drywall. You might need to, I don't know, you might think of it in construction terms or something. Ports need to be available on our local machine or we're not going to be able to get the stuff to run, right? And then system security ultimately falls on us always. Where are they pulling these random containers from? You saw earlier, people were just pulling them off of docker.io. That's not secure. Out in the world, are they getting them from CI/CD pipelines like they should? We can lock these things down, but not if we don't understand how this works. So then this was... I love Earl of Lemongrad, if you guys don't know who that is. Unacceptable. He's got this really loud, screeching, unacceptable voice. It's really funny. It's from Adventure Time, if you guys aren't familiar. But the point is, we aren't running the workloads up there, but we support the workloads. So as Linux systems administrators, we need to know this. Yeah, Robodom, I was telling my wife about this, and I said, I guarantee you there's some parts of that show that'll make you cry. I told my wife that. I said, I guarantee you right now. Like, because I know my wife's kind of, she'll cry at stuff, and I'm guaranteeing you right now, like, when you see, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but like, there's some things on there that are pretty sad, right? But anyways, yeah, so watch it if you guys haven't. It's called Adventure Time. It's pretty fun. I don't know about the new one, but I know the old one was funny. It was funny, and it was fun, and it was real campy, and it was just a good time. And, of course, getting to hear the voice of Bender coming out of Jake the dog is also funny. And people might say, oh, it's just the same guy, but it's not the same voice. And I'm like, the hell it's not. That's just him in his normal Bender voice. It's the exact same voice. That's the only reason I knew it was him. If you guys don't know who Bender is, go watch Futurama and report back. That'll make your day. Oh God, I hear Bender every time that guy opens his mouth. I don't think I've ever heard that guy talk and not heard Bender. Unless he actually is that good and I go look him up and find out he did other stuff I didn't know. But man, all his big roles, I just hear Bender the whole time, so it's kind of funny to me. All right, anyway, so then questions, if you have questions, let me know. All right, I think we're probably going to hold off going through all of them. We probably won't make it through all of them today. I was hoping to just kind of hammer through and get them all done. But you know, this is what we've been spending the last 4 months on. So if you look at any of this, and there's more from yesterday where we did the first 3, and if we're looking at any of this and going, hey, this is you know, this looks like something that's fun, looks like something I could probably do, and it looks like something I think I could you know, go make a career at. I definitely think you guys can do it, and it's free, right? Like, I'm not charging none of you guys anything for this. Just go hang out in our Discord. The only thing around that's you could even spend money on if you want is the little book, and the Linux book is it's on sale right now. It's only $10, so if anybody wants that, that's there. Yeah, I think this is it's just one of those things. If nothing else, it gets you involved with you guys doing that. Oh, Robodom, that doesn't have, that would just go right to the page. That's not even the coupon. The coupon is whatever that other one that's on a timer. That's the coupon one. But you guys are welcome to check that out and let me know if any of that's interesting to you. So let's go find somebody to raid. We got enough people. We're going to go find somebody to raid. Yeah, there's the book. Robodom found it. And then let's go find somebody to raid. Professor Liam, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. No, we don't want to manage a prediction. We want to go find somebody to raid. Let's find a little raid channel here. Oh, Rob's on. We're going to raid back to Rob. Rob raided us earlier. We're going to raid back to Rob. People on the YouTube side of things, I got nothing for you, unfortunately. I can just tell you that you're welcome to hang out with us whenever you want. Come down to the Discord. It's free. Water's warm. You know, the only person recording down in Discord is the government. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. They probably are, but who cares? They're listening on your phones anyways, so. All right, guys. I will talk to some of you guys maybe later on tonight and for sure in the next few days. Take care.